Hello and welcome to a live Kerfefe break on Deprogrammed with Carrie Smith. I'm your host, Carrie. I'm here with my co-host today, the illustrious Socrates. Is that an okay nickname to call you now, sir?
Oh, you can call me anything you like. I go by everything, don't I, these days? Oh, Voldemort is the latest one. He who cannot be named.
Oh, they call you that. So if you
Yeah.
guys don't know the co-host today, you are in for a treat. He's guest hosted with me before. He's the editor of Blocked magazine, a knitting magazine. That's also, I mean, you have the most interesting job because you do a magazine about knitting, but also about the culture wars and ideology in a way.
Yeah. Well, for me, both of those subjects are like passionate. They're my passion, if you like, because and on their own, I don't think there's enough for a magazine, to keep it going. But the fact that there's so much nonsense going on,
Yes.
there's just always something to write about. Because when I first started it, I thought, oh, I might have enough material here for maybe 3 to 6 months. But it writes itself. It
Yeah,
really does.
it does. So I didn't say your name, Neil James from
Ah,
Blocked magazine.
also known
And
as Evil Santa and literally Nittler and He Who Cannot Be Named and
he
Socrates is the one of our friends, Adam, wasn't it, who called me
Adam,
that? Yeah.
you collected all these nicknames that the social justice knitters have given you, like, they're unintentionally funny, like, literally Nittler. It's just funny. It's so
Oh,
stupid.
one of the latest ones, which was funny, was that I cultivate, and I've cultivated a charming British accent and pretended to be like Santa just to win over the Americans.
Oh,
So
I
it's like,
had
well, of course I don't look like this normally. I take it all off after the shows.
it's just you put on the beard. They have a problem with I've gotten a similar kind of attack before, which is, if they find you to be likable, they don't know what to do about you to counter that when they're trying to smear you. So they try and take those things. So I had someone say something similar once. They're like, "Oh, you have this likable girl in a hat with her dog who's going to posting stuff about her family just to win people over to the dark side." I'm like, "What?" Like, that's just who I am. Like,
Well, the
"Oh,
funny
your
thing is,
dog."
I mean, I've never even pretended to be nice, right from day one when, people started to, in the knitting world, started to see who I was. I said, look, I'm not a nice person, but I think I am a nice person, but I don't pretend to be, like a lot of
You're a
the
kind
nasty people
person.
do. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything about that because people say, oh, you're not nice because once, in 1983, you did, because it's going to happen at some point. But I would never sort of do that. Oh, I'm nice because I give to charity, or I do this, and you know what I mean. I just don't get it.
I don't like nice people, though. Have you ever heard Jordan Peterson talks about the difference between being nice and kind? I think it was him talking
Yeah,
about it, and it really struck something with me because a lot of times when you think of someone who's nice, maybe this is just in the States, maybe you can tell me if it's the same in the UK or not, but people who are nice sometimes, I mean, I'm like, I don't trust them because they're sort of people pleasers saying whatever to get and there's not much weight that I give to that word nice, but
yeah.
kind is actually a
Well,
virtue and
here,
it's a behavior.
yeah, and you can be kind without anybody even knowing about it. Because
Right.
if I was ever going to give to, here we go. I'm not even going to say whether I ever give to charity or not. But if I ever was going to, kind of giving it away, I wouldn't tell anybody, because
Yeah.
that's the way it should be, really. But here, I mean, we have the same thing, but we have this politeness that we have to live by in the UK, and a lot of people see that as fake.
Mhm.
So, for
Yes.
example, I know some places in America are very similar. Like if we see each other and say, "Oh, how are you today, Kerry?" and you're having the worst day ever, you say, "Everything's great. I'm fine, thank you." Even though
Oh,
you
yeah,
ask
I
how
don't do
you
that.
are.
I always say the truth, which sometimes people are like, "Oh, why'd you tell me all that?" "Well,
Oh,
you asked."
oh yeah, you'd get in trouble here for doing that.
I I have trouble with, those kind of niceties. I don't have a problem with small talk or being, what I think is kind to people, but I can't do the untruthful small talk. It just feels wrong to me. It's like I gotta tell people even on the show this past week, I was feeling down. I'm like, I'll just tell people I'm feeling down. Come into it. You gotta, otherwise it seems fake anyway. If I'm like, hello, welcome to pop culture, and I'm
Uh,
feeling like way
well,
down here.
yeah, I saw somebody like that, and I just thought, yeah, you are so fake. In fact, there's a video that I might have sent you earlier this week, and she was so, what's the word? So perky and so,
Mhm.
and I just thought, I bet when that camera goes off, you just turn into a complete Harridan,
I had that video you sent me. We're gonna get to this. You guys, we have all the latest, greatest battles in the unfortunate SJW knitting wars lined up to speak about. And Neil's talking about one of the videos in particular. And Neil, I have some similar comments about that video. So I would just, yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
to it. First, tell people where they can find you online. And we've talked about it briefly already, but just tell people what's your elevator pitch about Blocked Magazine?
Oh, well, I wasn't expecting that question. Well,
Okay.
Block Magazine, it's free. That's the biggest part of it. So it's free. There's patterns in there, there's articles in there, there's artwork in there, and you don't have to be a knitter to read it, although it does help. And that's great. Yeah. So on Linktree, if you go to Blocked Magazine, you'll see all the issues that are out. There are currently 5, and a 6th one is due out at the beginning of December. And I've also got a YouTube channel now, so I'm probably going to be inviting you on at some point, Kerry.
Oh, fun.
So the thing about the YouTube channel I need to explain is that the last sort of 3 or 4, they've been like 3 hours, like really long episodes. But I want to explain for people that the reason for that is because I don't just talk about knitting. We probably talk about knitting for about an hour. And then after that, it's always what the guest wants to talk about. So, for example, I had Anne Pinkover on last week, and she wanted to talk about Ripperverse, the comic. So we talked about that for quite a while. I have Murder Knits on regularly now. We do one every month where we talk about crime. I've had Anne Marie Waters on, and we talked about the rapes in Britain. That's a
Yes.
really heavy
Okay. Heavy
conversation, that
topic.
one. Yeah, and so every time someone comes on, so when I'm inviting you on, Kerry, you will get to choose a subject, and then I have to go and research it a little bit so that I've got enough things to talk about with you.
Right. Okay, that'll be fun. I'd love it. Adam in chat is asking, are these Socratic dialogues?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I don't pretend to know everything about the subjects, often I'm asking questions because I don't know.
There's so many puns you can do with the knitting channel. I mean, I just think you could just keep making puns for days, like all the news that's fit to knit. Or well, that doesn't really make sense. But anyway, you know what I mean. Yarn, the word yarn having double
Telling
meanings
yarns,
and
yeah.
yeah, darn, things like that. Okay. So before we get into the knitting stuff, and before I get into this first topic, actually, I should mention, you mentioned a couple of you mentioned Anne from Politically Incorrect Knitters. I'm going to be on Politically Incorrect Knitters tomorrow on Election Day. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to be on Comics Division's channel. He's doing a big election night party stream party, so come and hang out with us if you want to watch the results come in with a bunch of different folks, and bring your favorite beverage. I'll be getting a very fancy sparkling water, most likely, and we'll have fun. Politically Incorrect Knitters tomorrow, you may or may not be on because it's a special day for you.
It is. It's my birthday. And so I'm either going to be getting drunk somewhere or I'll be getting drunk somewhere on Thursday and then I will be on. So I don't know. We haven't made our plans properly yet. So we'll see. And I'm not going to say how old I am.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday. I can't say how old I am half the time because I forget. I'm that old now where I'm like, ah.
It's true. It is true. Honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
People think when I was young and my mum didn't know how old she was, I say, oh, how can you not know your age? Because when you're young, you know it to the month, don't you?
Yes.
I'm 14 and 3/4,
Yes. The older you get, well, it makes sense because each consecutive year is a smaller fraction of your overall life. And so that's why time seems to speed up. And it really, for me in my 40s, I can't even believe how fast it moves. I'm like, is it Christmas again already? It feels like it was just Christmas last month. But when you're a kid, let's say you're 5 years old, 1 year is a fifth of your
Yeah.
life. It's a
Yeah,
big time.
your summer
Yeah.
break from school is like a year long, isn't it?
Yeah.
That summer is amazing. Whereas now, when I was teaching, a summer holiday goes in like a week. It's just
Yeah,
gone.
it's just gone. Well, happy birthday. This is, I know you got a chance, hopefully, to look at some of this morning, and I want to talk about this before we get into the knitting stuff. So, let's see. Hold on. Here, I'm going to pull this one up. So, if you guys are not aware, I'll walk you through what happened last night, which is kind of a hilarious story. Elon Musk banned comedian Kathy Griffin from Twitter. Now, he posted, here's what happened. Let me see if I can explain this quickly. I tried to explain to my husband this morning. There is a rule that's been there for a long time on Twitter before Elon bought it, which is that if you cannot impersonate people, and if you're doing a parody account of them, like there are lots of parody accounts of famous figures like AOC and Trump and whatnot. If you're doing a parody account, it just has to say parody clearly in the title or in the description. And that makes sense why they would do that, because you can easily impersonate someone. You can change your name on Twitter. So a lot of people started, usually what used to happen though, is that Twitter you would get the first time you were impersonating someone and not clearly marked as parody, you would get a warning. And then if you did it a second time, you would be banned. So Elon posted yesterday, well, from now on, first offense, you're banned. If you impersonate someone without putting parody there, you're banned. And the reason he did this is because a lot of celebrity blue check marks, these are verified users who are on the left, all started changing their name to Elon Musk. And they all started took his exact photo, put it as their photo, his cover photo, put it as theirs. They basically duplicated his profile, and they have a blue check mark, a verified check mark. So if you're just scrolling through the feed and you see it, it looks just like Elon Musk is saying this with a blue check mark saying verified, unless you look closely to see that the handle's different. So Valerie Bertinelli, a lot of celebrities were doing this, and then they were changing their name and their picture to Elon Musk, and then they were saying things like, the election's in 2 days, make sure you vote for Democrats. And as Elon, they were saying this. So he made that announcement. Kathy Griffin, the comedian, changed her name to Elon Musk, changed her profile picture, and was doing the same thing. Go vote for Democrats. And so he banned her.
Oh, and I bet they're fuming. I bet they're fuming about that.
They're fuming. And I wanted to talk about some of the intricacies of this story, because it's kind of crazy, the fallout that I've seen on Twitter from this. So here I want to highlight this one. Let me see if I can put this one on. Here we go. Share screen. Okay.
Oh, excuse the cats. They're running about everywhere and they're hitting my microphone here.
There's your oogly cats.
Yes, you might see one of them in a minute. He's going to jump up.
Okay, so Benny Johnson here, he's the one that posted one of the original announcements saying breaking, Kathy Griffin's been banned. He also added this to it, which first let's go up. I agree with this. He goes, there's a difference between impersonation and parody. Parody accounts should be given the option to be marked parody to comply with the TOS the same way candidates for office or government accounts are clearly marked. That's true. And that's always been the case. It's not like the only thing Elon changed is he said, instead of getting a warning, you'll just first offense, you're banned if you do this. And so Benny Johnson says accounts like Kathy Griffin were clearly trying to impersonate Elon and tweet things to falsely attribute posts to him. That is not parody. And so then he has this here where he said breaking, Kathy Griffin has been permanently suspended. So I want to scroll down because there's some funny stuff happening here in the comments. Did you see that Elon Musk replied and said, actually, she was suspended for impersonating a comedian?
Oh, he's funny, isn't it? I don't know whether I like Elon Musk, but some of the things he says are just brilliant. So
I mean,
it's so funny.
That is hilarious. I have to say, I did see Heel versus Babyface make that joke first. Az made that joke. A lot of people made that joke, but it's just so funny to see him doing it. He's like joking around. And then this is even funnier because all the blue check marks are really in a tizzy the past few days, because Elon Musk has said that previously the verification system where you get your blue check was sort of shrouded in mystery. And there were even some rumors that Twitter employees were charging people on the secretly charging people as much as $15,000. I heard that
Wow.
rumor, to get a blue check, because it means so much to be in an elite blue check. And so Elon Musk has said going forward, that he's going to open up verification. Anybody can have a blue check if they verify their identity and pay $8 a month. And the blue checks are furious. They're like, how can the plebes get a blue check when it doesn't mean anything then? Right? It's
We're
like,
not special anymore.
we're not special anymore. And so they're all complaining about it. AOC is complaining about it. Everyone's complaining about it. And for days now, he's been saying stuff like, well, you can complain about me about it all you want, but that'll be $8. And like kind of just, it just cracks me up. So here he says if she really wants her account back, she can have it for $8. Like, how funny. And then so here when he said, this also cracks me up, when he says actually she was suspended for impersonating a comedian. So then this account shows up. Where is it? It's a Kathy Griffin parody account, and it clearly says parody in the name, and it's got a kind of a cartoon image of hers,
Yeah.
and I can't find it. Anyway, that parody account said, as Kathy Griffin said, "This is the first time I've ever made anyone laugh." Which is also funny. There's so many funny things about this. And so then last night, let me go over here. So then last night, Kathy Griffin logged into her deceased mother's account and
Oh,
started. Did you see this?
I heard something, but I didn't know whether it was true. I just read somebody saying that she'd done that.
Okay, yes, she did. So she's logged into, and Andy knows reporting on it. He says Kathy Griffin, who was permanently suspended for breaking Twitter's TOS by impersonating another person, in this case Elon Musk, appears to be evading the ban by
And
using.
impersonating somebody else.
Yes, and so if you go to her
Oh my
mom's
god.
account, she's now done the same thing. She's changed it to Elon Musk's photo. She's basically asking to be banned again, her mother's account. You can see here it's her mother's handle, and she's changed the name to
Wow.
Elon Musk. And so she's been tweeting all this stuff like free Kathy, and she's been replying to Elon, free Kathy, and
Is she
saying,
going to vote for her mother as well?
is she vote as her mother?
Mm,
Yeah,
as
possibly.
well as her mother, yes.
This is just if the thing about this is the response, as you mentioned, the response on the left has been kind of incredible. Have you seen any of it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that struck me was it just is like if this had been anyone on the right that had done this, they would
Mhm.
have been on it and said, "Oh well, you know, it's a what is it they keep saying? It's a private company. They can do whatever they want. They can ban people if they want to." But then the moment it's one of theirs, oh no, he's stifling freedom of speech, and
Yeah.
he's not. But he's not, you know, because she can still say whatever she wants, but she has to say it as herself, which seems to be quite a fair thing to me.
Yeah, it's like this would have been, somebody posted that picture of her that she put on Twitter, when Trump was elected.
Oh, was it the head
Yes,
thing?
if you guys don't
Yeah,
remember, I had not seen it in a while. I'm not gonna put it up because it's disgusting. It is the president's severed head covered in blood. Can you imagine someone on the right doing that with Joe Biden's head? They would be gone like
yeah.
that. Doesn't
Well,
matter what.
to
Yeah.
put it into context and bring it to the knitting world slightly, is if you think about what Christy Glass did with the Michelle Obama, all she did was say, "Where's the knitting, Michelle? And why is her ring on the wrong finger?" And she lost her career over that.
Yeah.
Whereas she was able to pretend that she'd sliced his head off. Oh,
And
it-
it's the double standard and the amount of the discrepancy in the reaction based on which quote unquote side of the narrative you're on is it's just I don't have words for it sometimes. So here it's the left, and we've talked about this before, and I used to be in this echo chamber. They are in such an echo chamber. Sometimes I can't tell which ones are disingenuous and lying about not understanding what's been happening the past few years, and which ones just truly are so clueless because they're in that echo chamber that they don't know. Here's a leftist account called Call to Activism, And so this is how they responded to it. Breaking. Kathy Griffin has been suspended from Twitter for trolling Elon Musk by changing her profile image and name to Elon Musk and posting a tweet in his voice. Comedy is now illegal on Twitter. Where have you been? Where have you been? Do you know comedians like Count Dankula had to go to court?
That was
Like,
exactly what I first thought of then when I heard that.
yeah.
Oh.
Comedians.
Well, the thing is, this isn't trolling. She wasn't trolling him. She was impersonating him, and there's a difference. It was actually it's a form of fraud, isn't it? It's a form of, I mean, it's not financial fraud, but
It's
it's
impersonation.
fraudulently saying you're someone who you're not.
And it wasn't in his voice. That's the thing. Parody
Yeah.
is when you're doing a mockery of the person, like SNL, when you're doing a satire of someone. She didn't tweet something that is something Elon would say, but more exaggerated. That's what parody is, when you take something he would say and then stretch it out to the extreme. She tweeted the exact opposite of what he would say, actually, an opinion that's the exact opposite of his. And she did it right before an election to try to sway the outcome of an election, you could be argued.
Yeah.
And again,
that will be why, because it's not funny.
Yeah.
There isn't anything funny about it. So there has to be a reason why she did it.
Yeah.
You know, and it has to be that. There can't be any other reason.
There's no, I mean, in a way, I will disagree with you in that I do think it was a form of trolling. It's trying to get a reaction. It's trying to be funny. But the point is, you can still do that and put parody in your name.
Yeah.
Like, that's always been the rule. Why is that so hard for you to do, Kathy Griffin? Elon Musk parody. Like,
but do they have to follow the rules?
They don't. That's exactly it. What she's angry about is that she's never ever been held to the same standard that people on the right are. I mean, she didn't get banned when she held up a picture of the president's bloody severed head. She's never had to follow by the rules. So the left is suddenly realizing, this is what I've been saying forever. Are you so short-sighted that when you would support policies that could be used against you depending on who's in power? And a lot of them are. And so now, in a weird way, it's sort of like,
well, they don't ever imagine. It's the Hillary Clinton thing. They can't ever envisage not being in power and not winning.
Yeah.
And because it's the same thing with Donald Trump. When he won, everybody on their side was saying that it was, fraudulent election, that it was fixed. There's no way. And then when it happened the other way around, suddenly there's no way. We've got the safest, voting system. I'm saying Americans have got the safest voting system in the world. But then 4 years earlier, the Russians had hacked it.
Yeah,
they just change everything each time to suit their own thing. That's
They don't stand. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm a little speechless, as I said, because I don't know. I spend a lot of time on this show imagining, what if someone who's in that echo chamber is watching, and what could you say to get them to that maybe would plant a seed that would make them think about something. And with this, I'm kind of at a loss because they seem so oblivious.
Well, I had hoped that when they saw Biden, acting as Biden does, that they would start to see it. But they don't. They still don't see that the man has some form of dementia, that, he's still sniffing children's hair. Did you see that picture of him recently where he was
yes.
I mean, was he just touching the boy's back or the girl's back? And it was like, there was just something really creepy about it.
The girls.
And it's like, with his son, I mean, the whole laptop business. I mean, all of that is just being completely ignored. And if they can't see that, I don't think they'll see anything.
Yeah. They can't, but look at this here, just to drive it home. I'm going to put this on the screen too. So this is an example of, again, people in the echo chamber not getting it. Now, this is someone who replied to Kathy Griffin before she was banned, where she was saying, now that Elon's in charge of Twitter, I'm going to go to Mastodon. I guess Mastodon is some Twitter alternative that some of the leftists are trying to go to. And this person, who's just a commenter on her, I saw this, said, "We're getting scattered to the four winds," which is, and I'm like, you don't say. Do you not know what's been happening the past 5 years? Anybody, liberals, conservatives, independents, libertarians, people who are not in the woke left, it doesn't matter. It's a huge group of us.
Yeah,
they've been banned. They've been censored, and you know what you got? We've been scattered to the four winds. People are going to Parler. People are trying to go to Gab. People are going to Minds. They're trying to figure out where can we go where we have free speech.
but that was justified. That was,
Just
that was justification because you can't tolerate the intolerant.
right. That's what they say,
And
right?
yeah, and we're obviously the intolerant. Whereas
See.
now it's happening to the good people
Oh,
because
yeah.
the bad people are in
Exactly.
charge now,
Right.
so, and that's obviously evil. Whereas what they were doing was clearly some kind of social good, you
Yeah.
know.
I just I don't get it. Okay, I'm gonna beat this horse into the ground. Here's one more. Let's put this up. This woman, this is a blue check. I don't know who she is. She's a blue check. She says, now listen to what she's saying. She is describing the situation the past 5 or so years, and she doesn't even realize it. She says, "It's not about Musk suspending Kathy Griffin from Twitter or anyone else who impersonates him for that matter. It's about making you just uncomfortable enough to avoid tweets critical of him or posting
Oh.
that next expose on him. That's the goal, and that's fascism." Where have you been the past 5 years? Doctors,
Oh,
doctors are suspended from Twitter. Robert
yeah.
Malone, people who questioned because there was no scientific
Fact
consensus.
checking. Every
Yes,
post you send having a fact checking thing on it.
yes. Yeah, where have you been? That's fascism. That's what you guys have been doing. And it just came out that the government had accounts, special accounts where they could go into Twitter and they could flag things that they wanted removed. That's fascism. The
Wow.
government was doing that. The US government. Um, where have you
Holy crap.
been?
But that wasn't fascism. That was, that was whatever. I don't know. I don't even know what the word is.
But Kathy Griffin gets banned, and suddenly it's like, "Oh, stop the presses."
Yeah, they didn't give a shit. Sorry, I'm swearing. Didn't give a shit
It's
when the president of America was banned.
the president of the United States was banned, and you guys were like, "Good."
Oh.
I don't
Well, can you imagine? I mean, is Biden on Twitter? I don't know. Is Biden on there?
He is. I mean,
It'll be somebody else.
someone
It
is.
won't be him. I mean, what if Elon, blocked Biden? Can you imagine what they would say? I don't think it'd be the same as when Trump was banned. Put it
They
that
would
way.
be like, "This is it." They would be like, "We have to get out into the streets and do violence now because Biden's been banned, and this is fascism. This is worse than
I
January 6th.
I need a new TV and new sneakers, so I'm going to have to riot.
I'm gonna have to break into the CVS and do something." Do you guys have CVS there?
We know, but we see clips of it, so I know what
Okay.
CBS is like.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I know. It's a little bit like is it a bit like CNN, like a documentary type show, but it's very left.
No. CVS is a pharmacy like Walgreens or Rite Aid,
Oh,
and
right.
they often get looted.
Oh, right. I thought it was a TV station.
Yeah. There's videos of them being looted, "It's part of the resistance."
Well,
Yeah.
we had riots here one year. This is quite a long time ago, and I won't say the race of the people rioting because people will say that I'm being racist, but let's just say it was one particular race. And oh, sorry, my cats are going crazy. What is wrong with you tonight? What's going on? And they want to be in amongst all the electrical stuff, all the wires. I don't know why. Yeah, and the funny thing was they were rioting and they broke in to buy, not to buy, sorry, to steal TVs, sneakers, carpets. Why they did that, I don't know. And that's what they were doing. It was just to steal stuff. And it was crazy, but obviously it was because it was a guy called Mark Duggan who had been shot dead for having a gun. He had a firearm, which is unheard of in our country
Oh, yeah.
mostly. And because he was a black man who'd been shot dead, that's why they rioted. It's like, you're missing a really big part of that there. The fact that he had a firearm.
They're exporting the
Yeah,
riots and stuff.
but don't you tend to have weird things going on Black Friday as well? Is that the 29th? Don't you have
Oh,
riots going
yeah.
on every year?
Well, unrelated to and before, the rioting that we saw with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, that was sort of a thing that was not political. It was just sort of started happening as a result of, I guess, the madness of crowds and a deep sale. You would see videos of people fighting in stores over Black Friday TVs and stuff, just crazy inhumanity towards one another. Now I don't know, people getting that they're riding jollies out continuously throughout the year, so I don't know if we'll see as much of that. It's like, what's the point? I can go out and do it in the streets and say it's for justice, right? Like, I just want to say a quick hello to K Dubshoe. I haven't seen you in a while, man. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. You guys got to go check out his channel. That's Chris Williams. He has a great YouTube channel, and I want to have him back. Okay. I'm not done with this topic yet. You're helping me deal with a lot of things I wanted to get off my chest.
Am I your therapist?
Yeah, you're being my therapist because I just don't understand where these people have been, where they're like, oh, now, free speech. And suddenly it's like, just, they're saying the exact opposite of what they've been saying. Here's one last thing I wanted to put up. This is just, usually the only time I make memes is if there's something I wish somebody else has made so I can share it and I can't find one, then I'll make it. So I made this meme because this guy, Robert Reich.
Oh, yes, I read this earlier. Yeah.
He contradicts himself all the time. I think he worked as labor secretary under Clinton. I mean,
I like the way you've done the color scheme on this.
Oh, yeah. So here are some of his tweets, and just look at the difference depending on when he said it. I'll read these. It might be hard to see on the screen. Here on the left, he says, now, of course, this is from January of 2021. He says, anyone who is saying that Twitter's ban violates the First Amendment doesn't know Twitter is a private company, and the First Amendment protects individuals against government. Here's another one from 2021. Trump is suing Facebook, Twitter, and Google for violating his First Amendment rights by keeping him off their platforms. Someone should remind him that they're private companies to which the First Amendment doesn't apply. And then a third one, this is about Simon & Schuster. This was a cancellation mob that happened where this guy had his book pulled from Simon & Schuster. He goes, how can this be an assault on the First Amendment? Simon & Schuster is part of the private sector. It's free to do what it wants. Its decision is motivated by the free market. Do you seriously not know the difference between the Bill of Rights and the free market? Now, let's just jump ahead a year to 2022 when Elon starts making rumblings about buying Twitter. Here we go. What could possibly go wrong with an oligarch determining what constitutes free speech?
So no longer a private company owner, an oligarch.
Yeah. Here we go. When multi-billionaires take control of our most vital platforms for communication, it's not a win for free speech. It's a win for oligarchy.
Who owned Twitter before? Was he a multi-billionaire by any chance?
Dorsey. Well, actually, it wasn't a private company before. It was a public company, but it was Dorsey who started it. So who's an oligarch? Is he not?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, he was a billionaire, wasn't he?
Yeah. What's the difference? Call me a radical lefty, but I don't want any oligarch to control the internet.
Yep, okay. You're a radical lefty.
Just the hypocrisy.
Well, I saw something. I don't know where I saw it, so take this as you will. But I saw something the other day where they were trying to say that the algorithms are skewed in our favor, for the right. So
what?
All of the when I read it, I thought, what do they not know about the shadow banning that's been going on? How many people have been blocked permanently?
Wow.
If that was true, Trump would still be there. What was that guy called? The gay guy. He was really like a brilliant troll guy. I've forgotten his name now.
Oh.
Gamergate. British. Then.
You mean Gamergate? You mean not Count Dankula? Now I can't. Sargon.
Do you mean Sargon? No, not Sargon. Oh. No. What's his name? Somebody. Milo, yes, thanks. Pirate.
Oh, Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, he would still be there. If it was, if the algorithm was in our favor. I say our favor.
Yeah.
Because most of us aren't even on the right, are we? That's the funny thing. We're just classed as being right wing, and we're not really right wing at all.
I've got to punch this code in so I can pull up what you sent me for the next segment here. Let me do this.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You're right. There was Milo. There was Trump. There was, just off the top of my head, here are some of the permanently banned accounts that I know. There was Heel versus Babyface, who I mentioned earlier. There was Mike Harlow, who was permanently banned. I don't know how many times. Some of these people got theirs back recently when Elon took over. Some still haven't. Myth Informed, who does the Better Discourse Conference, permanently banned. Of course, James Lindsay, permanently banned. Conceptual James. Gina Carano. She got hers back recently. Gina Carano.
There's a few in the comments here. Alex Jones, Josh Slocum.
Oh, yeah, Josh Slocum,
Algorithm. I don't know who that is. The algorithm.
Katie Hopkins,
Oh God, yeah, Cater. Yeah.
what's the congresswoman's name that everyone hates, or the what's her MTG? I don't know much about her, but I know that she receives so much hate. Her personal account was banned. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean,
Stefan
it's just
Molyneux's on here
on
as
and
well.
on. Oh,
Yeah.
what's his name? Who does the undercover reporting? Project Veritas. Done, gone. James O'Keefe. You know,
Oh,
and
God, yeah. I haven't heard anything off him for ages. Just yeah.
because they put
I
him
used to
down the
watch his
memory
stuff.
hole. Laura
And Jordan
Loomer.
Peterson, has he been banned?
He got a strike, and he was told he had to remove a tweet, or he was banned, and he refused to remove it.
Yeah, don't think anybody tells Jordan Peterson what to do they?
He was like, "Yeah, I'm not." Yeah, thousands, and these are just the big accounts. Think of
Yeah.
how many just everyday people
Well,
who've been.
I was
Yeah,
permanently banned. I don't even know why. I can't even remember now. I mean, it's about 5 years ago now. Probably for tweeting something Trump had said.
Babylon Bee. Oh my goodness, Babylon Bee, satirical site. You want to talk
Wow.
about comedy being dead? An actual labeled satire parody site
Yeah.
taken down.
Is Titania McGrath still on there?
I think so. Titania is still kicking it.
Well, that's the funny thing. I bet it's because a lot of people think it's real and
Yeah,
because it's so left.
it's so left. That's so funny. Um, okay. Before Titania, though, there was another parody account, Godfrey Elfwick. I've mentioned him before.
Oh,
He was
that one
so
was brilliant.
funny. He got banned.
I got caught out by him once.
You
I say
did?
him, yeah. Well, he posted something, and I was like, you know, when you answer something really angry, and after I'd sent it, it was like, oh shit, it's a parody.
Oh, you didn't realize it was yeah. He was
yeah.
like Titania, and that I
Yeah,
think a lot of people really mistaked him for being a leftist because he was so
yeah,
good
I
at the
did. Yeah.
parody. And he would say, I love that he said he had he was trans race and also transgender.
Well, that's the thing I'm saying now. I'm identifying as a black woman now,
Oh,
and
okay.
the funny thing is nobody has ever questioned it or mentioned it. And they do everything I say. They're usually on it, you know, straight away. But they've never even, because I bet they think, "Oh shit, what if he is?"
Yeah, we can't
You know,
we
we
can't
can't go there. Yeah,
when word nothing means anything, like why not? Why not? Okay. Uh in the list of things, we had a lot we wanted to talk about today. I will say this, I don't really you guys know if you watch this show regularly, it's weird. People who know of my show but don't watch it will sometimes say, "Well, I know you have your political podcasting." I'm like, "It's actually I know then that you probably haven't watched it because I don't really view Deprogrammed as political. I mean, we do talk about politics. It's downstream from culture, but um, it's not my. I'm not one of those people who's like, let's look at the polls every day and like figure out who's going to win in each race. I don't really. I don't actually even trust the process. First of all, and second of all, I don't put a lot of stock in politicians being able to change things. I think you have to change culture,
hmm
and then that'll change politics necessarily. So
Well, the proof of that is probably in your political system, isn't it? Is that, you know, Democrats, then Republican, then Democrats, then you know, and what changes really?
yeah,
You know, it very, you know, for the ordinary person, very little actually changes.
yeah. Very little changes, especially when you're talking about, um, I mean, the two major parties. I don't see a lot of differences between them until Trump came along. Who didn't the I was one of those people who cried the night he won. I believed all this left. I was in the leftist world. I thought he was this demagogue, whatever. As I started leaving that echo chamber and looking back on him now, I realized like he was a liberal in so many ways who ran as a Republican. Like he didn't really fit either party, and I think that's why they hated
Well,
him so much because he was not a traditional neocon.
well, wasn't he a Democrat originally?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I that night, it was the night before my birthday, because my
Oh,
birthday is
right.
usually the election day, give or take a day, isn't it? And so I stayed up all night to watch, and it was like the best birthday present ever. Okay.
Was it? You were
Oh, it really
celebrating
was.
while I was on the floor crying.
Oh,
If
if only we could have the two images next week.
yeah, you and I back then would have been like this. I was still in the cult. Like I was starting to come out of it. I had started waking up prior to actual election night during the campaign season, but I was still in it enough that I was like, this is awful. How did this happen?"
Well, I couldn't believe it when it happened, and the thing that I found most telling was when the Trump family walked on the stage. It was
Mhm.
like they didn't know. There was
Yeah.
just this moment where everyone was like, "Shit, what do we do now?" I've won. What do I do?
Where they're like, yeah, what they didn't expect it. I completely
Yeah,
agree. They didn't
yeah.
expect it either. Okay. Let me read a couple of these super chats and then we're going to get into the knitting stuff that we promised, which is there's a lot of crazy stuff. Big Raj, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. And by the way, I forgot to plug it at the beginning, but this show exists based on the donations, the kindness of viewers and people who like the content. So if you want to support and you're able to, there are YouTube memberships now. There's also a local subscribe star and a Patreon. And I appreciate it. And if you can't financially support, you can always support by liking videos and sharing them and just getting the word out about the show. So thank you. Two Sisters and Some Yarn. Hello, lady is here
Mhm.
modding today. A couple of mods are here. Good to see you. She says, hit the like button or all the knitters drop a stitch. Let's see. Okay, this is my fault, and BS might be here today. BS has done some designs for me. She's just waiting on me to give her the high-res artwork for
Ah,
Deprogrammed for the logo part, but she's done the designs. We have shirts coming out. This is gonna be my goal to get these done before Christmas, so if anybody wants to buy them for Christmas presents, we're gonna have some knitting shirts. I know just because it's a joke that this is a knitting podcast, it's not. But, yes, Pirate Queen says, "Hey, Carrie, Neil, any thoughts on T-shirts with the logo on it? I would love to show up the channel and support you at the same time." Thank you so much for asking this because you're lighting a fire under me to get that done.
well, can I say something as well? I've
Yes.
created a whole load of things with merch, and for some reason, I just can't get it to go live. So now that I know that BS is doing yours, I'm going to contact her and ask her if she can
Okay.
help me because I've done all the stuff; it's all there, but I just can't get it on the. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Just talk to BS. What a unfortunate initials. Okay. Two Sisters and Some Yarn through your link in here that people can go and find out more info and find your merch when it's up. Surly Unicorn says, "Does he do audiobooks? He should."
Oh, should I read that out? In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit.
Yes. Take my money. You could do I would listen to you read anything, especially
What?
fantasy.
In the really deep voice or in my ordinary voice? Actually, it was the same, wasn't
It's
it?
pretty much the same. Oh my goodness. If I had a voice like that. Okay. Adam says, "I think Birdie Rose
Oh,
would be
she
a good
would.
guest on here." Yes, and I was talking to Birdie. I think I let the ball drop. Birdie's gonna be on. Hopefully, hopefully Birdie will still be on. I would love to have her on. And CJ says, "I dropped my ballot off today. I hope
Oh.
it gets counted." Yeah, so it is election day tomorrow here in the States. And I was leading up to while I was saying about how it's not a political podcast. I was saying all that because in truth, I don't really care about talking about the election. I feel like we should, but all I'll say about it is I don't trust it. Um, I am voting for Abbott, even though he is not the governor I would love for him to be. I wish he was a little bit more like DeSantis, but he's not Beto. And I'm a little afraid that Beto might happen because I just don't trust it.
Ooh. Is Beto the one that did those photos for the presidential election where he was like in the Wild West in front of a car wearing cowboy outfits,
Oh my
looking really
God,
kind of
probably.
like he was on the cover of Gay Times or whatever?
Probably. He's what we call in Texas, all hat, no cattle. You know what I mean? Like silver spoon guy, always handed stuff from daddy, never worked a
Yeah.
real job. Yeah. And pretends to be a Latino. I mean, he doesn't come out and say I'm Latino, but he certainly doesn't mind people mistaking
Well,
him for having that
does he look
heritage.
Latino though?
No, he's Irish. His
I was
name
going to
is
say he doesn't look any. The one I'm thinking of doesn't look Latino at all.
No, but Beto
Ah.
is a Spanish nickname, and he uses
Oh,
that instead of his real name, which is Robert Francis.
oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
OMG.
because it's Irish, Robert
Oh,
Francis.
This is like what was she called? Pocahontas. What was her name? I've forgotten her real name now.
Oh,
What was she called?
Elizabeth
Warren. Warren.
Warren.
That's like
Yeah.
that, isn't it? They're all well, says me, the black woman, but they're all trying to be ethnic in some way, aren't they? To get
Yeah.
brownie points. I don't mean
Yeah.
brownie points as in, oh, I need to explain this. In Britain, do you have brownies and Girl Guides?
Yes, we have the
Ah, right.
same
That's
the
what I
same
meant.
traits there. Oh,
Before
you
people saying I was being racist.
they will take that out of context on purpose.
They
Trust
will,
me.
yeah.
Yeah. They'll be like, "He said brownie points. He's not
Someone's
talking
put
about brownies."
broke back beta. Oh, poor beta.
Let's see. Okay, just a couple more and then we're gonna get Bradley Burdett, thanks for becoming a new YouTube member. Look at your cute dogs. I remember you, sir. If you're the person I'm thinking you are, I'm very happy I got to meet you in person. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pirate Queen also became a new member. Thanks, lady. And Jason says, I hope you can get JBP himself someday. That would be a dream come true. Hi, Jason. I haven't seen you in a while. Okay. There's been now one day I would love to see you. Speaking of dream come true, I would love to see you hang out with some of the geeks and gamers guys, the nerdrotic guys, because the first time they had me on their show, it was to give them kind of a summary of some of the knitting wars stories that I'd been covering,
I bet they can't
and
believe it, can they?
they couldn't believe it, and they were dying laughing. They think it's so funny, but at the same time, I think it's really unites that because people who've seen the woke intrusion into pop culture and entertainment and gaming and comics and stuff, to see that it's also in knitting, it's funny, but it's also like, okay, it's not just us, it's everywhere,
I'm
and
not sure which one has become the sort of which one is at the cutting edge of it. You know, I'm not sure which is leading this. You know, because initially I thought it was the knitters that were, you know, a bit more far advanced in terms of how crazy they are. But now I know how bad it is in because I was a comic reader, so I am a bit of a
Mhm.
nerd in that respect. But I've never been involved in games like you know, the whole Gamergate thing or anything. I've never been involved in that. So I don't know whether it all happened at the same time.
I think it started percolating everywhere at this it because it kind of spread out. So I picked it up. I picked up social justice in college, and that was in the late 90s. And at that
Ah,
point in the US anyway, it wasn't in what you would call primary school. It wasn't in elementary school or high school. I got it at my elite university. And a lot of people that were in my age picked it up in college, and then they went out and spread it, whether they were teachers, then they took it into the elementary schools. If
yeah.
they went into gaming, and I had friends who went into gaming, who worked at jobs like who work at Google and places like that, who work in tech. They took it into tech, they took it into journalism, entertainment. I took it into entertainment. And so everybody was like sort of
It's your
seeding it.
fault.
It is a lot of it. There's a
I
little
think we
bit.
need some accountability here, Kerry. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Horsehair and all that. You need to wear your
Yeah.
horsehair shirt.
Um, I did do my I took it into my job in comedy and television and
Speaking of
pushing it in
comedy,
that way.
we had, you know, you have, is it Friday Night Live you have? Or is it Saturday Night Live? The
Oh,
show in
We have Saturday Night Live.
well, here we copied it and we had Friday Night Live, and this was sort of in the very late 80s and 90s, and then it kind of died a death. Well, they relaunched it the other week, and it was Friday Night Live or FNL, and they had all these comedians on there. And I'm not joking, I watched it, and there wasn't one thing that was funny. It didn't even make me smile. You know, sometimes you just smirk. But the worst bit was when they had the transvestite comedian on who then at the end, because it was live on Channel 4, I think it was on, who took everything off and then started playing the piano with
His penis,
her penis.
her penis.
And I don't know whether there's been any repercussions, but then it was reported in the papers like the next day or the weekend. You know, in words like stunning and brave, and oh,
Yeah,
what was it? A new star is born, I think it was. A star is born.
yeah,
It's like, what? If he wasn't wearing a dress, he would probably have been arrested.
yeah. I had not covered this on the show, but I know in case people haven't seen it.
Yes,
Now,
that's it. Yeah.
here's the irony. They have to blur out these images because it's inappropriate for kids, of course, but when they talk about it in the press, exactly as you said, they're all calling it empowering and stunning and brave and something new. This Jordan Gray, who is a biological man, claims to be trans woman, has not had the has had breast implants, but has not gotten rid of his male genitalia, and at the end of his live performance, stripped naked and started dancing, and then literally took his penis and mashed it into the keyboard and was playing keys with his penis on live television when kids could be watching. And you're right, they celebrated it like, "This is amazing." Like,
it, I just don't know how to respond to it properly because it without getting angry. You know what I mean? It's like it seems so ridiculous that why would it be on there? Why get angry about it? But like you say, kids do watch it, even though they're not supposed.
yeah,
It's after the 9 o'clock
they do
watershed,
watch
but
it.
they do watch
Yeah.
it. Almost all the kids now have got TVs in their room, and they would have watched it because it's a comedy show. Well, comedy. Oh yeah, the audience which yeah. Oh Christ. I mean, there was a really weird TV show years ago with a presenter called Keith Chegwin, and it was something called like Naked in the Jungle or something or whatever. It was a game show where they were all naked, and it was just a one-off, and it was on TV, and I think it would have been about 1999 or 2000. Well, he was taken off TV, and he was paid to do it. They knew it was going to happen.
Okay.
And after that point, he was hardly. He's dead now, but he was hardly ever on TV again. And it's like, well, what's the difference, really?
Yeah.
If you and they, oh, I don't know. I was going
No,
to go off on another
go
tangent now.
ahead.
The thing that's sort of freaking me out a little bit is that there seems to be a move, and I've seen this with some things on American TV as well, where I think it's trying to get people used to nakedness, because there's a dating show here now called Naked Attraction, and I'm not joking, it is ridiculous. It's one of them things that you kind of have to watch because it's car crash TV, but they start with behind these screens, and the screen goes up and it shows their genitals. And
Why?
then the person choosing has to get rid of one based on their genitals, whether they like their genitals or not. Then it goes up, and then you can, if it's females, you can see their boobs, and if it's men, you can see their chest. Then they get rid of one. And then right at the end, when they've got like two left, that's when you see the face and you hear them talking, and then they get to see the person choosing naked. And it's so funny because they often have non-binaries on, and people that claim not to have a gender preference, and it's laughable because they almost always go for the one with the biggest penis. It's like,
Yeah.
clearly that's what they want. It's like, why don't you just say that's what you want?
I can't quite even imagine this with you, like
Oh, I'll
like,
try and send you a clip.
okay.
But it reminds me a little bit of the show you've got, which is it called Naked and Afraid?
Okay, I don't know that show, I've heard of it, but I
Yeah.
haven't
So
watched it, yeah.
basically, they throw two people, I think it's a male and a female, naked into an environment where they then have to try and figure out how to survive. And the point is, why do they have to be naked?
Yeah,
But
why?
everything is moving more and more and more towards it. And I think it's to get rid of people's inhibitions, because they don't want people to feel any kind of not shame over the bodies. That isn't what I'm talking about. But I think they want people to be happy to share changing rooms, men and women,
Yeah,
for example.
yeah.
They want to get rid of any of that kind of barrier.
They wanna introduce, I think, kids also to this, just it a lot of them won't admit this, but they definitely want to sexualize kids and groom
Yeah.
kids in the real meaning of that word, which is to get them used to sexualized situations as children, and it's
Yeah.
like, why? Why can't they be kids?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
some of them legitimately believe it's better for kids to be. I mean, there's that parenting book that came out recently, a leftist
Oh,
parenting book that said
yes.
it would be healthy if you let your kids, like your 10-year-old, be in the room with you when you and your partner have sex. What? Why?
Yeah.
Why? How do you get so
Yeah.
crazy that you say stuff like that and you
How
would
to mess up your kids. This is
right.
just going to create a whole nation of serial killers. Because
Yes.
that's kind of what happens, isn't it, when kids see things like that?
Yeah.
When they see their mother having sex with someone, it usually ends up in a bad way.
I just wanna read, since we brought up, I hadn't talked about this Jordan Gray appearance on Friday Night Live there in the UK. Again, if you're just tuning in, this guy has gotten breast implants, but still has his male genitalia, and he stripped naked live on television, and then rubbed his penis into the keyboard and used it to play the keyboard, and all the media is just fawning over him about how great this is and this is amazing. Here, some of the lyrics of the song, though, I'll cover this quickly. Is feminists have pointed out that the song, they've called it misogynistic because the whole song is very narcissistic, which is what Jason says. There are parts in it where he's like, enough about you, let's talk about me, and the song literally says this, like, me, I'm the best. And the song is called
Oh,
Better Than You, and here are some of the lyrics from it. The song is about how he, as a trans woman, is better than women, and some of the lyrics were, I'm a perfect woman, my tits will never shrink, I'm guaranteed to squirt, and I do anal by default. I am the lizard king, and I can do anything that any other woman can't. I used to be a man, but now I'm better than you. And they were just cheering and eating this up.
wow. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to say. Well, well, this is not on the same level, but the Women of the Year, you're pretty much guaranteed to be a man that wins it now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing that made me laugh about this particular case was it was almost like it was the I've forgotten his. Sorry, I'm so rubbish with names. The guy who did The Office, the British, the one who invented it, what was he
Ricky
called?
Gervais.
Ricky Gervais. He did a comedy sketch where it was literally where he says, "Her penis." Do you remember it? Did you see it?
Oh, I
And
forgot that. No.
it's like this case exactly, because that is what was happening. It was like they wrote in the headline, "Her penis," whereas
They did.
everyone at home is like, "What?"
What?
And it's
Yeah.
almost like it's straight from that comedy sketch.
It's comedy, but it's satire becoming reality.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like when things
But
get so hard to
that
parody.
But that guy, I'm going to call him a guy because he is a guy, the one with the penis piano.
Mhm.
He is kind of telling everybody what it's all about. It's all there, isn't it? With those
Mhm.
song lyrics, with what he did, it is literally narcissism beyond just being a little bit obsessed with yourself. It's real narcissism,
Yeah.
because that's all. And I think it's this whole thing of, oh, you're beautiful, oh, you're lovely, have your prize for coming last, we've been telling our kids for 20 years now how marvelous they are, even if they're not.
Yeah.
So now they don't understand how to be, second best or to be rubbish. They have to be the best at everything.
The best.
Yeah, or they're in their own mind,
Yeah. And then more about me,
Oh, yeah,
me.
crazy.
Someone
Well,
asked.
go on,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Bradley says, "Wow, those lyrics are unbelievable, but did the music sound good?" It was
Well,
kind of silly cabaret style, yeah.
it could have only been one key at a time, couldn't it?
Oh, you mean that part with the penis? No, it did not. But leading up to that, when he was playing with his fingers, it was
Are you
kind of
sure?
funny.
Are you sure it was his finger? Oh,
Oh my
crazy.
gosh. Also, I learned a word because of that guy, because I went to his Twitter to see when that aired and it was in the news. It was like a week or two ago. And in all the press is just like you said, Jordan Gray is breaking barriers with playing the keyboard with her penis. And I went to find this person on Twitter, and he said something about how I love the smell of burning. And then it was a word I didn't know, gammon. In the
Oh,
morning,
yes,
and that's a
yes,
UK word. What does that
it
mean in the
is.
UK?
Oh, well, it's the equivalent of the N word. And what it
Really?
is, yes, but they won't acknowledge it. They try and say, "Oh no, it's not. It's not." So what it is they call white people gammon, and white people call white people gammon as well. So it's a bit like, whereas someone like me, I would never use that phrase, and you would probably never use that phrase. But if you were a woke leftist, you would. So there's two aspects to it. One is that you're white, so you look like gammon, as in pig flesh.
That's
Because
what I
of our
thought. It
skin,
comes from a
yeah.
word about it's
But
about pigs.
yeah, but the other aspect of it is that they try and say, "Oh no, it's nothing to do with what you look like. It's about your attitude." So, but it's like, well, gammon doesn't have an attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there has to be. So they try and equate it with the N word. So the thing with that is that is only they try and say now that the N word is about an attitude. So if you call someone that word, yeah, ham as well, yeah. And it's about skin. It's like that mottled skin, because we used to say when we were kids at school, in your shorts and it was a cold day, or girls in the skirts, you say, "Oh God, your legs are like corned beef." And corned beef kind of has
Mm.
that mottled look. And
Yeah.
it's the
Ooh,
same kind of thing as that. So
that's what they call
gammon
white
is very
people.
offensive. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so this person, he was like, "I love the smell of burning gammon in the morning,"
Yeah.
and I looked up that word because I didn't know what it meant, and it's and the definition I found said this is a UK slang, that is roughly equivalent to, like, deplorables or something, but specifically white people and
Yeah.
deplorables,
Well, and
or
it is racist. There's no
yeah,
ifs, buts. And the thing is, what I've noticed is that I tested the theory out and I started to report. So I didn't do it for very long because I couldn't be bothered. There was too much of it. But I started reporting it to Twitter as a racist, if I ever saw it. And eventually they started upholding them. So
really
yeah, so if you see it, just test the theory and see whether they still think it's racist or not. Um,
interesting
yeah.
because they do have that double standard. I see a lot of, on Twitter, they call white people snow roaches. I've mentioned that before. That one's just funny, but
Oh, well,
it's a double standard.
if you do a search on Twitter for YT, for YT, so white people, and then the most horrific thing you can think of, and you'll see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So, kill YT, you'll see it all over the internet, and it's never taken down. But
Yeah,
they get away with it by just spelling the word white differently.
yeah.
That's how they seem to get away with it.
They do it with the letter Y and the letter T, which the
Yeah.
first time I saw that, I thought somebody was talking about YouTube.
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, yeah.
YT.
What's the problem with YouTube all of a sudden?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They're like, "Kill YT." I'm like, "Yeah, it sucks." No, I'm kidding.
yeah. If we suddenly go off now, you know why.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, sorry, I'm joking. Okay. So, we did a little, dive there into Jordan Gray. So now I do wanna bring up, now you because you do Blocked Magazine, and for any and like I was saying, one of my dreams would be to have you talk to the Geeks and Gamers, Friday Night Tykes guys. All those guys, I just got to see them recently. They had a meetup in Orlando, and I got to meet lots of people there. Some who are in the chat. I just saw another one go by. Flagrant Triggers. Thank you, sir, for the super chat. Says Carrie, I'm going to hell for the meme. I tagged you in on Twitter. It was awesome meeting you in Orlando. It was awesome meeting you guys. I'm like, I have to go see which meme you're talking about. But you know what's funny? Meeting everyone in Orlando was that there were also knitters there. So, like, the 2 audiences are sort of coming together. There's
Ah,
a woman that I met who was saying, she and her husband, she was like, "Hey," because a lot of people say, "Hey, I know you from Friday Night Tights," or whatever, or "I watch your show, but I originally saw you in Friday Night Tights." This woman was like, "Hey, I discovered you from Politically Incorrect Knitters."
oh wow,
Isn't that amazing?
that's
I was
cool.
like,
Yeah, that's really
"Yes,"
cool.
and she's at the
Yeah.
Geeks, meetup, and
Well,
that's
there
like
are a lot of geeks in knitting. There
yeah,
are. There's a lot of comic readers and gamers in there.
yeah.
I believe I've never seen it. I don't even know it. But is it can no? There's some animal game, Animal Crossing game or something. Is that classed as gaming? I don't know. I'm probably being an old person here.
That's a I think the games that knitters play, do they there are some knitters who I know game, like Xbox and PlayStation and all that stuff. But I think some of the knitters do games that, like you just said, that probably that the real
Probably
geeks
not
and gamers
games.
wouldn't put in that, like Candy Crush, like, no, that doesn't go
I'm
in that category.
I'm still thinking of like the Snake. Do you remember the Snake game on the old phones on the Nokias?
Oh,
That's as high tech as my gaming ever got.
that's so funny. Oh my goodness.
And
Frogger.
Tetris. I think I did Tetris a few times.
Frogger. Okay. So we are getting into the knitting stuff now. I think the first thing I want to pull up is this very disturbing clip that you sent me from a new documentary called Web of
Yes.
Chaos. Can you tell me about this?
Well, it's the second documentary that this particular the presenter has done, and basically it's from New Zealand. And this documentary came out last week, and I've not been able to see the whole thing. This is just one clip that is on the internet at the moment, and the bottom line of it is that they're equating knitters with being terrorists.
You have to see this to believe it.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
and if you feed your children healthy food, you're a terrorist. If you've got children with blonde or red hair and they have a plait, they're terrorists. It's unbelievable. It's beyond a parody, but it's not a parody. It's the kind of thing that would be bad parody if it was a parody, but it isn't. And it really is setting a scene for something quite sinister in the future, I think. I
It
think it's
is.
getting people ready for something big that's going to happen. I mean, I'm touching on conspiracy stuff now, but when you watch it, it's like, yeah, the way they're saying these things as facts.
They say it so serious, like, they
Yeah.
basically taken all the social justice stuff and they've kicked it up to 11. They've turned it up to 11. They
Mhm.
turned it up where it's like, if you are a knitter and you're white, well, here, let's just
Yeah.
watch it, and then we can
Yeah.
talk about it. This
Yeah.
is a short clip. I couldn't believe this. Okay.
You can draw people in lots of different places. And each of the platforms are used in different ways.
Hello, friends. As you can see, I'm working on my wig-y bag.
What is known internationally as the kind of trad wife set of viewpoints, which is white, Christian, a lot of pseudo-Celtic, pseudo-Nordic ideologies behind it. They use Pinterest and Instagram to draw in other women who are interested in interior design, children's clothing, knitting, healthy food for children. And it does draw people in towards a set of white nationalist ideas. I mean, it's relatively easy to see. If you see a very beautiful, fair-skinned, blonde or red-haired child with beautiful braiding in her hair and some flowers, just step back a little bit. Which is really distressing because that's my heritage.
Did you hear the Jaws music when the child came on? He went, that.
Yeah.
It's just so sinister.
Yeah, look at this sinister wholesomeness,
Yes.
Wikipedia
Yes.
says. Yeah, so I couldn't that was as loud as I could make it. I apologize for the sound. Anybody who couldn't make out what she was saying, she was basically saying, something similar to what you started the show with, where sometimes people will, they don't know how to attack you if you're likable, so they attack you by saying your likability is a front and a tactic to pull people in. So she's saying they go into the knitting world and crafting, and they show pictures of beautiful blonde
Oh,
children with
keep talking.
flowers.
I'll do the Jaws music. Dun,
And if you
dun,
see a white
dun,
child with a red braid and
dun,
flowers in her hair in a
dun,
field, maybe take a step back. Yeah. She's like, "Take a step back," because and then she literally says, she says it's white nationalism.
Where do we begin with it? It's absolutely insane. Yeah, because yoga's another one. White women who do yoga are terrorists, and this is something that's been. This isn't even new. The black knitters have been saying how awful white yoga women are.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell? You just do yoga for Christ's sake.
Look at this, Filthy. Hey, what's up, Filthy? He says, they trick you with warm, comfy socks, then bam, white nationalism.
Those scarves, we can hang you with them, Yeah, it's what it's about. So this woman, she's called Kate Hannah, and I can't remember her title now. Hopefully, it would be at the bottom of the clip that you've got there. But even her title as to what she is sinister. It's like you can imagine that she works for the Ministry of Love. In 1984, I think her job title is something like disinformation
Project founder, I think that's what it said.
So her job started apparently in lockdown. And her thing was to find out about people spreading misinformation, and this there was, and one of the things about it, the reason they've targeted knitters is because I won't say her name, but there is a designer knitter who also is involved with a really great organization called Voices for Freedom. Please go and look it up. They're a New Zealand group, and New Zealand, if you don't know, have probably in the Western world had it the worst out of us all in terms of lockdowns and the severity of how they were treated. I think they've only just come out of lockdowns and having to wear masks. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might have got that a little bit wrong. So it's gone on this amount of time. And they were the first ones, not the first, but they were the main ones in New Zealand talking about the reality of what we all know now. about mass stonework, blah blah blah, and they were demonized. And one of them was talking about knitting on our friend Marie's show. So Marie from Skeins.
Marie Busky, I love her.
Yes. Yeah. So from Skeins.com, I think it is, which is just a yarn store, and they were literally talking about yarn and talking about a pattern. And in the previous documentary that the same lady was in, so Kate Hanna did this, they had a clip in the background of Marie and the lady from Voices for Freedom talking about knitting, but then they had the sinister music again. I mean, really ramped up that sinister music, but they kept flashing Nazis on the screen,
Putting pictures of Nazis up next to these knitters.
goose stepping, with and like talking about,
Wow.
it was bad, and I'm not saying it was really bad. When I heard it was bad, but when I saw that, I was just like, oh my God. And I was so angry, I wanted to write to the channel and say, how dare you put this? But I thought, what's the point? They're not going to listen to me, and I felt so sorry for Marie, because Marie is a lovely person. She's so far removed from being a Nazi or a terrorist. It's ridiculous.
The opposite. It's because you said it's that charity is called Voices, or organizations called Voices for Freedom. They
Yeah.
do this thing like psychopaths where they do Darvo, they invert everything. So just like with Trudeau, who I think is a psychopath and authoritarian, he calls the truckers for freedom the authoritarians, right? Like, it's like, no,
Yeah.
they are opposing fascism. They are opposing the government intrusion into their lives and violation of individual rights and freedoms. And that's what a lot of like a knitter like Marie, that's what she's doing. And to call her the opposite of what she.
And the thing, this is kind of, it all goes back to the knitting wars, all this, because the only reason they don't like Marie is because she didn't denounce sock matician Nathan Taylor when they were going for him. This is why she's a terrorist, for not denouncing,
for not
someone
piling on a gay man who on the left who coined the diverse knitty hashtag. For not denouncing him for writing a poem about kindness. That's what they wanted at the end of the day. That's why they went after her.
He was their poster boy, really. He was everything that they are, because he is a lefty. Although whether he is now, I don't know. But that's the only reason that they see her as a villain. But it's like, I don't know whether they could take legal action against them for this, because it's definitely defamation of character. Absolutely is. And Kate Hanna, as she's called. What was interesting about the first documentary, I watched it, and right from the beginning, my first thought was, who the hell is this woman? Who is she that she is speaking? And what was clever about the first one, and I've forgotten what the name of that one was, but they never said what her name was or what her title was until you were in halfway through the show. So by that point, everybody has already decided whether she's a voice of authority or not. But underneath, I think at the time it was university lecturer. She hadn't got her title at that point. I don't think. I might be wrong. And I think that's what it was. I can't remember exactly. But I just thought, what? She's just a bloody university lecturer. What right has she got to be saying this?
But you're right. It's very 1984, like the Ministry of Truth, the Ministry of Love. It's all the opposite, so she's now her title is disinformation, specialist or whatever. Well, you know what that means? Propaganda. It's you have to invert it.
It's spin doctor.
It's the opposite of what they say. Up is down, down is up. That's like here in the US, they try to do this disinformation governance board, and we're like, wait a minute.
I don't want to be a replacement theory conspiracist. Is that the right way of saying it? But I kind of am. There's definitely this kind of feeds into that, because one of the things, it almost makes it look like people are going to think, oh, I'd better not have blonde-haired children.
White children,
yeah. So, and because I don't know whether it's the same in America, but on the TV here, bearing in mind that the population of ethnic people outside of London is quite small. In London, it's huge. There are more ethnic people than white people, I think, in London. Might be wrong on that. But everywhere else, it's the opposite way around. But on our TVs, everybody is in a mixed race relationship. Not that there's anything wrong with mixed race relationships, but you never see relationships that aren't mixed race anymore. And so there's definitely something being fed to us, wanting some change in the way our society is. And this Kate Hannah is doing the same thing by making little girls with blonde braided hair
So
Jaws.
it sounds crazy, but I just did a quick search to see if I could find one of them. Um, but I've seen countless, especially when I was in the SJW cult, countless posts and essays, like the kind of article that's actually just personal essay or opinion piece, where white women who are social justice will they express the opinion that they wish they didn't, that their kids weren't white. Like say that outright. Like I wish I
Oh,
wasn't going to
God.
have white kids, or at least half white kids. Just say something like that about your children. And I've also seen, there was that one, oh gosh, I wrote about this one a few years ago. The mother who wrote a whole essay about how her toddler, who's a boy, is an oppressor. And it's
Oh,
like,
Jesus.
because he's a boy. What, how does your kid cope with having such a abusive demon for a parent? That's what I would, just to write something like that that's out there forever, where you're like, my son's an oppressor. He's a white
Well,
man.
I don't know whether this is true. So if somebody's on the internet now, you could test the theory. But apparently, if you type in happy white woman into Google and do an image search, you'll see something quite interesting.
Oh, I've
And
seen that.
yeah, whether it's still the case, I don't know. But basically, it's like a thing where all these women are only happy because they're with either black men or Asian men or whatever. And the thing is, if you, like we're talking about this now, there's nothing wrong with these relationships at all. There's nothing wrong with mixed race children. There's nothing, but it's the promotion of it as if it's an ideal.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not ideal, it's just that it's just a thing. It shouldn't be promoted or not promoted. It should just be what people want to do. It shouldn't be, it's like people are being coerced into doing this. We're being, I don't know what the word is, engineered slightly into it. Is it the same now or is it different?
It's pretty similar, and there are a lot of other so happy white woman gives you these image results on Google. It's a lot of mixed race couples, like a white woman with a black man or with a black child. See, or yeah, there we go. White with a black person, white woman with a black boyfriend, white woman with a black boyfriend, white
Yeah.
woman with a black boyfriend, and they've never given a good answer for why this is the case.
Because it doesn't happen with any other variation of this. If you say happy, white men, he doesn't do it the same. I think they're all just got a beer in their hand. You know what I mean? I don't think it works that way. Or with black women, I don't think they do it with black women either.
There's also, well, if you do, I think this has been a while since I looked at these. Well, no, it doesn't do that. Here, look. So if you look for an image of a happy black woman, you get what you think you would get, which is lots of images of happy, smiling looking black women. You get something that seems like that would be normal. Why does the algorithm feed you it's feeding you something strange if you type in happy white woman?
Because it should be exactly the same kind of stuff. That's how you know there's something weird. Pirate said, the word I was trying to find, he said nudge theory. So this is nudge theory, by kind of nudging people into a way of living that they want you to do, want you to live.
That's so interesting. I've never seen them give a good example for that. And there's other things you can put in there. We won't waste time doing it, but look up white couple, things like that, and you'll get also like strange results where you're like, those aren't all pictures of white couples. Like there's a lot of interracial couples in there, and it's just sort of.
Well, I wonder how long will it be before, looking, if you see pictures of young blonde girls with pigtails or ginger-haired girls with pigtails, whether they're all going to be in Nazi uniforms, because the whole Greta Thunberg look was very much like Nazi youth, wasn't it? So it's like how, even though she's a strange one, we could talk about her for a whole episode as well, but it's like, is that what it'll be? If you've got a blonde-haired child, is that just you being a white supremacist because you didn't mix your genes?
Well, that's this New Zealand woman seems to be, and she's expressing that she says, if you see a white child with the red braid and flowers in her hair, step back, because white nationalism. And by the way, it's a shame because that's my heritage. Like,
but it was the laugh. It was the way she laughed.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was, but there was something really deeply unnerving to me when she laughed. I don't know what that was. I don't know whether anyone noticed that.
Yeah. Okay, I want to play. We've got I don't know how much longer I have you. So I want to do, you sent me so many knitting stories. Okay. So that one, which is weird, where they're like knitting is white nationalism. So then there's this one from Kristen Lehrer, which we mentioned before. Let me get the exact video clip. Hold on one second. Sorry guys. Bear with me. Oh, here it is. Oh, wait. It's an Instagram video, so I don't know how to share this one.
Will it not work?
Yeah, but you can see all my messages in the background. I don't want, it's kind of, let's see. I wish it could take me to her page. Is there,
her username is Woolenvine. Woolenvine.
Oh, let's do that. How do you spell it?
Wool and then EN Vine.
Everyone, all these people keep calling and texting me, telling me to vote for Beto.
Well, people you know, real
no, like automated stuff.
Two Sisters has put it in the chat there. You can see.
Okay,
it's with W, not with the V. Somebody else has put it as Woolenvine, but it's with a W.
Okay. One. I don't see that either. Hold on.
Oh yeah, if we do get the video on her, he's just in the interest of fairness, she's dressed up for Halloween, so she doesn't look so kind of weird normally. So she's got a black wig on and sort of strange eyeshadow.
So tell me who she is while I pull this up.
Well, she's a knitfluencer, as they call them, and she's one of those. I don't know whether she is a mean girl. I'm not going to say she is, but she strikes me as being a mean girl because she's one of those people that has cultivated a perfect life on Instagram. Okay. You know, where everything is kind of curated to look beautiful. You know, nothing is ever out of place. And the way she does it is, you know, she's always perky and happy. And, you know, the type that when the camera goes off, you know, they turn instantly into the bitch trog from hell, you know. Did you ever see the one with the dog?
No, tell me about
it. People will probably remember this, but there was not an Instagram, I don't know if it was TikTok or Instagram, but she had a dog and she was doing lots of tricks with the dog and she was so lovely and everything was perfect and the dog was marvelous and she loved this dog. Anyway, she accidentally uploaded the wrong clip. And it was her basically abusing the dog because it hadn't done the right trick. And I always imagine this Woolenvine girl to be something a little bit like that. I'm not saying she is. If she's watching, I'm sure you're lovely, Kristen. But but there's something about her where it's too nice.
Okay, this is kind of my comments about her. You know what? I can't find the video if I don't just show it from my messages. So I'm going to pull it up from my messages. There's nothing here in the background that's bad. I just don't want people contacting my friends, you know, anybody who hates me, but whatever. Okay, here we go. Let's share it. Why not? I mean, you're not going to find out anything other than like Mike Harlow sends me messages. Duh.
What? You do realize somebody out there is going to use that information.
Right. Some mean person. Like, okay, here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
You're here for the knitting. So that said, grab a cup of something and let's get into things. Oh my gosh. And I went to Marshall's the other day. Look how stinking adorable these are. And I was actually on the prowl for paper coffee cups like this, because I will be honest, guys, I am sick and tired of washing dishes. I can't do it anymore. I feel like twice a week, it's just me and Dennis, but we go through so many cups, so many dishes, and I'm tired. So tired, guys. So I was on the prowl.
Okay.
That's all you need to see, really, isn't it? That's it. You've got the gist.
So my comment on that is sort of what you were saying. People may not know what's coming, what's next, what happened to this woman after this clip. But it's not what my complaint would be, which is that I don't know how I could watch more than a couple seconds of her. That's just personal taste, whatever. But she just
I saw this beautiful cup, and I mean, look, I just don't have the time to wash up, and I don't want to get my beautiful nails, in the soapy suds. I can't do an American accent. I apologize profusely.
It's just too perfect. It's too perfect. It's like that kind of persona or whatever. Like you said, is she? I always wonder, is that person like that in real life? And if they are, how exhausting, because they're just not. They just don't. It doesn't feel authentic. It's like listening. Okay, listening to music a lot of the music that's produced today. Not all of it, but a lot of the stuff that's pushed by the powers that be, by the radio stations and by the record labels. A lot of it is, I said to my husband, we were listening to this new song and I was like, it's good, it's just too perfect, it's missing the
Yes.
spark of life. And he said,
Anodyne is the word I use.
anodyne. Yes,
Yeah.
missing the spark of life. And he said, actually, that's exactly right, because everything from the singer's voice to the instrument, everything is perfected after the fact and made so perfect that you kind of lose the beautiful realness and the spark of life that was in all the old recordings. And then, for example, he put on a couple of oh gosh, what's his name? La Bamba. He passed away in the plane with the Big Bopper. Somebody in the chat, help us out.
V is in the name, isn't it? Is it Vin?
In the plane with the Big Bopper, and he did La Bamba, and he did
Vance, something Vance.
Hold
Richie
on.
Valens.
Richie Valens, thank you.
I knew there was a V in there somewhere.
You got the V. So he put on some Richie Valens, and I'll say, you guys have to do this. Try this out. Yeah, the new music is sterile. Thanks, Dan. So put on some Richie Valens and listen to those takes. And those were straight takes. One take where all the musicians are in one room together and they all just do a live. And you can hear, like, at one point, my husband was pointing out these different parts to me, like, listen to this drum, the snare that starts to come in and then goes, wait, oh, I guess we're not doing that now. And they just leave it in, and it's beautiful, and it's real. And
it's like if you doing this now, if you kept cutting it and then cutting bits out that weren't perfect, the ums and the ahs, or the cat walking back, it would be like that, isn't it? Because it wouldn't be real anymore. It'd be, us being perfect,
This is all a lead up to say that's why I allow you guys to sit there and wait while I pull up clips, because I'm kidding. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about making you wait. But yeah, she's just too polished and too that kind of personality. I couldn't watch more than a couple of seconds of that. I think I'd just pull my hair out. But that's not why. That's not why she got criticized. Do you want to tell me what happened to her after that clip?
Okay. Well, I saw it all backwards. So the first thing I saw was she posted an apology. So straight away, it's like, oh, what has she done? Because I know I've heard of her. I knew who she was. I'm not a huge watcher of anything she's done before. And basically, she had to apologize because she used a paper cup. Yeah. And two women... Actually, I didn't send you these. I forgot about this. Two women had made a comment in her YouTube video. One of them saying how disappointed she was that she was using paper cups. And the other one was saying, you are an influencer. You should know better. And rather than telling them to F off, or get a life, you silly cow, or whatever, she basically said, oh, you're so right. And I'm so sorry. And I'll do better. So she said, I made a mistake. Can do better. In this week's video, shall I do it in my Hobbit thingy voice? Yeah. In this week's video, I was drinking coffee from a disposable paper cup. A few viewers pointed out, I can't read, that I was irresponsible and wasteful, and it was wasteful of me. After taking some time to reflect, I appreciate them calling me out on this, and I have to agree. Sustainability is important to me, and the use of disposable cups was in poor taste. I'm not perfect, but I do my best to be mindful of saving the planet wherever possible. I will do better and promise to be more responsible about promoting sustainability, especially here on my channel.
What? Arnawa takes the words from all of our mouth and says, for an effing paper cup.
Yeah. Well, straight away, I ordered a load of paper cups because I thought now, every live or thing I do on it, I will have a paper cup, because I just think, get real. Somebody said, I don't know who it was, but somebody said their husband. Yeah, somebody said people have murdered and haven't been this
Apologetic.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But it isn't. I don't know. Tell me. Somebody said the husband worked in paper or something. And said that paper is one of the most, ecologically sound things because you replant trees. It's sustainable is a word, isn't it? Because it
Sustainable.
biodegrades. It's
It's not like plastic. I mean,
yeah.
and my husband is someone who, for example, he's very convicted about this, and I think that's impressive. And he, I want to do better, like I do with a lot of things. I want to be better by being around him, and but so he's very much against plastic bags, and he will at the grocery store be like, "No, I'll prefer paper if we don't have our reusable bags with us." And it's something he thinks about, but I could never imagine him shaming someone in this way, the way that they shamed her. And furthermore, anybody who would make this demanded apology, this is no different than the apologies people make to woke, where they're how real is this for her? I don't think it's real for her at all. I
No,
think it's
not
just
at all.
let me say the words.
Yeah,
right?
I suspect whoever Denny, did she say Dennis? I don't know if that's a partner. I suspect her conversation with Dennis was very much what we're saying now, like, oh, look at these bitches moaning about me having but then she has to write the right words. But the thing is, nobody said she had to apologize. She brought that upon herself to apologize. And I think it's this thing of, she's so bothered about the likes and the clicks and the, having fans and all this, that whatever it had been, they would have complained and she would have apologized. If they'd have said, your eyeshadow's too blue, she would have been, oh, I'm so sorry. I should have worn pink.
Yeah. Or if they had said green socks are racist, which they've said before, she would have said, I've made a mistake. Thank you for, here's all the words thank you for educating me. I'm sorry that my ego and my white privilege got in the way of seeing the point that you were making. And I'm very grateful that you took the time to love me with education, and I will try to stay in my own lane from now on. And, like it's always,
I will do better.
I will do better and I promise to do the work.
Oh, the work. Yes. The work. What is the work?
The work means calling out others. Like I will dutifully pick up my pitchfork and run into the next mob with all of you. Like that's
if only the first one, whoever that first person was that did one of these apologies, if only they'd have said, oh, piss off.
Yes.
What would the whole of history have been,
Yeah. Piss off. You know who said that? Okay. Salem witch trials. Have we talked about this before?
No, we haven't. I'd love to talk about this actually, because it's the Crucible is one of my favorite book plays.
I love it also.
Yeah.
Okay, Giles Corey. You guys
I know that name.
You know that name? Okay, look up Giles Corey. Now, he's interesting for a number of reasons, because during the Salem witch trials, at the beginning of the witch panic, where they're just like an SJW mob, they start accusing more and more people and go at the beginning, he was going along with it. Like, yeah, that's a witch. Okay. Then they came for his wife. And they said, because they always escalate and it gets broader and broader until you're scooping up people who are using paper cups. She's a witch too. And she's like, really? I didn't know this week that's against the rules. I was just with you, another witch. Yeah, paper cup. So they're like scooping up more. So they scooped up his wife and said she's a witch. And then they said he's a witch. And so they had this one thing that they would do where they would put death. It was called death by pressing. Yeah. And so what they would do is if you would not plead guilty, you had to plead guilty. Just like with social justice, you have to take a knee and issue the apology. It's a Kafka trap. If you either say that you're guilty, or your refusal to say that you're guilty
means you're guilty. Yeah.
Yes. So Kafka trap. Same thing with the witch stuff. So they would basically say, okay, since you refuse to say that you're a witch, this is one of the things they would do is they would put huge, heavy stones on your back, and they would add weight. They would add more stones until you confessed, or died. And so Giles Corey, is famous for he was asked repeatedly to confess that he was guilty, that he was a witch. And every time he said no. And so they did the pressing. And every time they would put a huge weight, a stone on him, and then ask him to confess. and he would say, "More weight,"
Yeah.
until he died. They gave more
Ooh.
rocks more weight and he died.
I
He
would
was
hope I would be him in that situation. Whether whether we would do that, I don't know. But yeah,
yeah.
it's yeah, it's awful, isn't it? I mean, that whole thing wasn't there. Didn't the end of it come when they accused some nobleman's wife of being a witch? Isn't that how it kind of ended?
Maybe. Now I have to go read all of this
Yeah.
stuff again because I can't remember how it ended.
Um,
Mm,
but it is very that. I mean, there's a reason why we always call these things witch hunts, because the hysteria of those girls, whipping themselves
yeah.
up into a frenzy, is exactly what they do in every one of these woke cultures that we have.
Yeah.
It's not an exaggeration. Oh, did you see the? I forget the cartoonist's name. I'll have to try and find it, and we can put a link maybe. But there's a brilliant cartoon, and it links into the amnesty stuff, because I know you did a show about it the other day. For the COVID amnesty,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's two witches on fire, and the witchfinder general is shouting over, "There were mistakes made on both sides."
As they're being burned to death. Now is the time for forgiveness
Yeah, and that is it exactly.
for what we did.
Oh, it's such a brilliant piece of art. And the guy, he's called Bob something. I can't remember his last name. It's brilliant.
I love that kind of humor that takes something really dark and just makes something wickedly funny out of it. It takes the sting out of that darkness
Yeah.
of what's happening there, and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what that's like. You know, I couldn't even watch. Somebody posted, I Lives a TikTok posted a video back from. It was this woman in a nursing home who was on the other side of plastic glass, and they wouldn't let her see her loved one. I couldn't even watch it because I started crying. It was so, and she was basically sharing that, saying, "Look, these people want amnesty for stuff like this," and
Was it a British case by any chance?
I don't think so.
Oh, the one I saw, which was really upsetting, was a woman outside trying to see her mother. And because she was getting upset through the window, her mother had dementia on the other side in a chair. And because she was getting upset, they took the mother away. They wheeled her away, and she was screaming, "I want to see my mother." And this woman would have died. She was at the end of life, basically. And it's like you say, how can you forgive that?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially
Amnesty.
when there's no, when they're not, saying, "Please forgive me for using a paper fucking cup." They're not
Yeah,
even trying to do that. If
yeah,
they at least, even if they pretended to be sorry, but they're
yeah.
not, and they won't be.
Pirate, I can't grab that tweet unless you jump into the StreamYard and post it in the private chat, just FYI. The way that the Pirate's trying to give us a link to the cartoon, but I can't grab it. Just wanted to let you know. Yeah. Anyway, sorry I brought us down.
Yeah,
That's
we're
the
really
story. We
miserable
were
now.
up, we were laughing at the mistakes that were made. And the mistakes were made on both sides. Oh my goodness. Okay, so speaking of mistakes that were made, let's go over the okay, wait. I think Pirate joined us. Let's see. Private stream. Yeah, if you drop it there, I can grab it. And if you want me to put you on camera to talk with your fellow Brit, let me know. I don't know. You may
Yeah,
not be
we
camera
live
ready.
not too far away from each
Yeah.
other. Well, reasonably not too far.
Okay, here we go. Oh, this is funny. Okay. Let me add this. Yeah, you guys should meet up sometime because you're both
Northerners.
Northerners. I've had wonderful accents on Friday and today because he was on with me
Yeah.
Friday.
Does he sound like me? I have spoken to him, but I can't remember his accent.
A little, yeah.
This is it. Yeah.
He also sounds a little bit like Donkey from Shrek. I hope you're okay with me saying that, Pirate. Only sometimes.
Oh, poor Pirate.
No, not Donkey. No, he sounds like one of the characters that says donkey, that says the word donkey. I can't remember which one. The way he's like donkey. Anyway, never mind.
Shrek.
Yeah, he sounds like Shrek.
He's put holy shit.
He's like, "Why are you roasting me? I'm not on camera." We love you, Pirate Tomsky. You guys give it up for Pirate in the chat. Okay, this is the he sent me this cartoon that you were talking about, Amnesty. There, anybody that's just listening and not watching, yeah, this is pretty funny. The witches are burning alive. Oops, turns out they weren't witches after all. And then they're yelling into the flames. Mistakes were made on both sides. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's so true.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, a word about this artist, by the way. He's really cool because what he does is his artwork is free for any publication to use. So I sometimes put one of his
Oh,
cartoons in block, so anybody can use it for free, which is really quite, a nice. I like it when people do things like that.
very cool. Bob Bob Moran.
Yeah. I don't know anything other than this. I don't know who he is or where he's from.
Bob's Cartoons. Go check it out.
And they're very, it's our kind of cartoon, put it that way. They're almost always, our thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I'm gonna start using some of his stuff maybe. Okay. Do you have time to do one more before you have to
I've
go?
got all night. I can keep going
Yeah.
forever.
Okay, so this next knitting more story is also very intricate, more intricate, I think, than the paper cup one. Can you just give a brief, just tell us about who is Lady Di Yarns and what's been happening?
Okay, Lady Di Yarns is a lady called Diane Ivy, I think her name is, and she just uses that name a bit like Princess Di, dyeing yarn is a bit of a pun. She's a maker of colour, as they would describe it, and she has been in business for about 10 or 11 years, and she's had 2 or 3 businesses prior that have all folded, and she has had lots and lots of grants and help because she was a struggling person of color in business. So she's had mentoring, she's had from the best of the best apparently, and she's an expert on expansion, and she's always talking about how great she is at business. Anyway, to cut a very, very long story short, she has basically taken a lot of money from a lot of people, and she hasn't fulfilled the orders. So,
Oh,
for
so
example,
taking money in terms of people are buying things and she's not
yes.
sending it. Okay.
And so they bought yarn, mostly yarn. There's a magazine thing as well, which I'll talk about in a second. So she does this thing called pre-orders where she'll do a set of colors. So she did the Bridgerton TV show where she'll create a load of colors based on those characters in Bridgerton. And then you sign up for it, you pay a lot of money. This isn't a small amount of money. And then at some point, she is supposed to send those yarns out to you. So we're talking, bear in mind that a skein of yarn, so people that don't knit don't understand this, can be about $30 for one skein of yarn, which will make a pair of socks if it's fingering weight, and it will make a hat maybe if it's not. So you're talking a lot of money. So this is why people will buy a hat rather than knit a hat, because it's cheaper to just buy one off the shelf. So when, often people, if you're buying a sweater's worth of yarn, you'll be paying like $100 to $200 easily.
So why do knitters choose to pay more money to make it themselves?
Because it's about the experience of knitting it.
Yes.
So it's the feel of the yarn. There's something very addictive to that. I don't know how to put it in words, but it's about the fact that you've made it. And there's a challenge. The first time you knit a pair of socks, the first time you've made it, it's like, oh my god, because socks are actually tricky, probably one of the trickiest things to knit. So when people see people knitting socks, they think, they're just knitting a pair of socks. No, that is a feat of engineering. You should be impressed.
Plus, as a gift, so much of yourself goes into it. Your time, you made it. You didn't go buy this pair of socks. And I, as someone who is very grateful to receive beautiful knit projects from some people who are in the chat, it is so meaningful. I mean, the quilt, I have to show the quilt again. Because that each person, it's almost overwhelming to think like just how much time people put into it, this handmade thing. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, if you made a pair of socks, you wouldn't knit continuously, but it would take you about 2 weeks to knit a pair of socks.
Okay.
Because you can only do it in the evening, while you're watching telly or whatever. Anyway, so Lady Di. So she charges for things like what we're doing now. So every time she does a live, it's $10 a piece each time you do it.
Wait,
She
to watch the video, you pay
Yeah,
$10?
I presume I've never been in one because I wouldn't pay,
Okay.
but I'm assuming there must be some kind of interaction as well. I'm not sure, but it's like a knit night, she calls it, and she charges $10. But that's a way of her making money without having to do anything. She also had this magazine which was released around the same time my first magazine was released. I think it was a little bit earlier hers. And the magazine, so it's not even a real magazine, is $45. And the real magazine was $50. But that magazine was launched in December last year, and the people that ordered the physical copy have never received it. And so
Okay.
that was $50 a piece. There's one particular yarn shop owner who's a small business, and she ordered 80 of these magazines to have in her shop, and they never turned up. And she spent nearly $10,000, which she's not got back. So basically, it's been going on now for a very long time, since January, more or less, because I first reported on her back in January, not for this particular thing, but bad business practices back then. And it's been building up, and people have been asking for the money back. And
So
she's
I read somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, it's around $19,000 to $20,000 that she's
yes,
taken in for things she
yeah,
has not
it
sent out.
yeah. About
Okay.
2 weeks ago, it was 16,000, but now it's up to, because what they're trying to do, the demon trolls they're called, they're the ones reporting on this. They're trying to get as many people that have been duped by her to tell them so they can add it to the list. It's ongoing. And yeah, this is Lady Di Yarns. And yeah, so it's $19,000 at the moment. And what she's been doing is she keeps sending them emails saying, "Oh, everything's fine. We're working it all out. And I admit, we're behind, and it's, down to this, that, and the other. And we're a new business. We're just starting out. Mistakes have been made. We're
On
working on
both
it."
sides. Both
Yeah, yes. Yeah, as she's lighting the fire. Yeah, and then she says we'll have orders sent out or refunds sent out in 2 weeks' time. Then 2 weeks comes along, and then she either posts a message or does a live video where it's the same thing again in 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time. In
Can
2 weeks' time.
I just highlight that this looks like the worst knit night ever. Craftivist craft night, feminism and intersectionality. Craftivist craft night, empowering
Oh.
personal stories on reproductive rights. Like, get a vasectomy. What is all this? Like, awful, awful. Who wants to
Well,
pay $10 for
there's
that?
more of that than there is of yarn
Okay.
and knitting, yeah. So the latest thing is now. As a Brit, I don't know the intricacies of this, but the AG is now contacting people and asking them for their information about what she owes them. So it's looking like it's getting very serious now, and she may well end up in prison because she has deliberately defrauded people. And it seems like what she's done is that rather than when you run a business, people who run businesses will know this, you get your first lot of money in from buying something. That money isn't profit. Often that money is going to get swallowed up into the debt that you need to cover for all your overheads,
Right.
your stock that you've bought. And what she's clearly been doing is using that money as it's come in and spending it on whatever wages or
So
whatever.
she doesn't have the money to actually make the products and
So she's always sort of trying to get money, from the future to pay for what
Oh,
she owes for today. That allegedly, I need to keep saying
allegedly.
allegedly, because we don't know. This is all based on what these demon trolls are saying.
Look at
Um,
Murdernet says she has also sent refunds and pulls them back or sent fraudulent
yeah.
receipts.
So she's deliberately kept things going to be beyond the time that you can claim cash back from your credit card company, which I believe
Oh,
is it 3 months or 4 months? So she kind of keeps things going, which is what the 2 week thing is about, keeping it going. And then once it's over that point, they can't get their money back then.
oh, even though they never got the yarn or the
Yeah.
scarf or
And
whatever.
it's not, this is why I was sort of emphasizing how much yarn costs. We're not talking about $5 here.
Yeah.
A lot of these people will have bought a lot. Oh, they have this thing
Because
where sorry, go on.
one skein you said it costs around 30 can cost around $30, and that's
Yeah.
that's enough to make maybe a pair of socks. You need to buy multiple skeins at $30
Yes.
a pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, my mind's just gone. What was I going to say? Oh, it's gone. Can't remember.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right.
Oh,
Old
well,
age.
and so then catch us up on how this woman's been allegedly looks like defrauding people, has racked up all this, money that she's taken in around
Yeah.
19,000 or what have you, and has not sent out the products, and people are accusing her of fraud. How did this become a social justice knitting war battle?
Okay, so the whole point is that she's a person of color. So nobody for a long time dared to question her, because I questioned her customer service back in January, and that's why I've been accused of being a racist, basically, for saying, because what she would do is she would humiliate customers publicly.
If they
So
asked.
well, if they asked anything, so a customer was sent
Wow.
something that they didn't like and wanted to send it back, and basically I can't even remember the details now, but she absolutely roasted this woman and pretty much doxing her in a way, saying her name and everything, and then getting people to pile on. So customers were scared to say anything. So people weren't saying anything, because if you criticize a person of color in the knitting world, so they could murder someone. And if you say, oh, they shouldn't have murdered someone, you'd be the racist,
Yeah.
because how dare you? This is a black woman. They are, they're the holiest of the holy. Nobody can question a black person. Yeah, Tabitha's in the comments. She's saying she threatened people with lawyers. She's done all sorts of things.
Stolen from her fellow BIPOC designers and tells them to get over it.
Oh yes, she was stealing patterns as well. That's something I'd forgotten about that. So she was doing these kits and not actually paying the designers for the pattern, and that's a big no-no in the knitting world. And I think, but nobody's questioned her on that. But I think it's because some of these big names may be taking legal action against her, so they've probably
Wow.
been advised to be quiet on
So
that.
just all around sort of like questionable ethics and
Yeah.
behavior with her business.
Well, she
Okay.
did these club things as well. So you had bronze, silver, and gold clubs. So for $260 odd, I think it was off the top of my head, you could be a gold member, and that gave you a little bit of money off, like a discount. And somebody worked out, I'm just making the numbers up now because I can't remember, but it worked out that you would have to spend something like $17,000 with her before you actually got a discount on any yarn, because of the way it worked. I can't remember what it was, but it was just such an obvious con to get some money into the bank.
Yeah.
Um,
So then people weren't criticizing her, and then what happened? Did the dam break? Like, were there enough people who had not received their items that they said, okay?
It's still not broken. She's still safe at the moment from the knitters. The people are not saying anything. So there's a group called the Demon Trolls, and they're called that because somebody called them and Demon Trolls years ago for something. And I'll be fair to them. Half of them are like the worst Harridans I've ever come across ever, and the other half I think are decent people that want money back for things that have gone wrong. And what they're doing, they're kind of like a bit of a almost like a watchdog. They're highlighting anybody in the knitting world that is defrauding people or doing something dodgy money wise, and they seem to be quite fair about that.
Mhm.
But the ones that are a bit unhinged are unhinged. So what has become the issue now? The issue is no longer about Lady Di anymore. The issue is that I reported on it in the magazine. So I contacted one of the Demon Trolls because she'd written a really good summary, and it was a really good summary of what had happened. So I said, look, your summary is really good. It's really well written. Would you allow me to publish it in the magazine? So she replied and said, oh, thank you for your kind words, but no. So I thought, fine, okay. So what we did is I didn't do it myself. One of my friends there, she rewrote a lot of it, and we put it in our own words and published it. And now that is what the story is about. The story is that a racist white man is using this situation to have a go at black women. Lady Di doesn't deserve this. That was what
Okay.
one of them actually said.
She doesn't deserve this. But I also read, wasn't Ravelry banning people for trying to talk about it?
Yes.
Also?
Well, I think they've completely thrown the demon trolls off Ravelry, I think. I'm not sure. Well, this was another thing that kind of
Oh.
involved me, is that somebody had shared some information from the AG on Ravelry, and Ravelry barred them because of it. They kicked them off. And then I have a Ravelry account. I've only had it about 5 or 6 weeks, and I've done nothing with it. I just use it to watch the demon trolls. That's the only reason I've got it. And anyway, this woman was saying, I can't believe it. They've thrown me off Ravelry, and he's got an account, and I've reported it so many times, and it's still there. It's like, well, what reason have they got to take me off? I've done nothing. I've not commented on anything. It's like that. It's just to cancel me for existing.
Just for existing, you can't
Whereas,
be here.
this woman that has stolen all their money from them, they're still kind of defending her because of the color of her skin.
Yeah.
Which I don't give a shit about. I genuinely do not care what color skin she's got.
Just to answer this in the chat, actually, Lady Di, he says, "Black woman hero." Now, like, yeah, absolutely.
Lady Di, another Lady Di,
a different Lady Di. Yeah, that's the thing about social justice. If you're new here, one of the things that they do, which is similar to what white supremacists do, is they try and say, like, all Black people are the same. They all have the same opinion, and they all speak as a group. And if any Black person, and they do this, they try to do the same to gay people too. But like, if anyone gets out of line and doesn't speak the woke belief system, then there's suddenly, oh, you're self-hating and you have internalized racism.
Will you put that comment back up again? So the Lady Di comment.
Yeah.
Because what I'd like to see if she'll respond to this is, have you ever been accused of, because one thing they say to other Black women is, not all skin folk are kinfolk.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
So that's what they say to Black women that don't go along with the agenda. So I would be interested if you've ever heard anything like that before.
I've also heard them say, for like any Black person that doesn't go along with the agenda, they say, gosh, what was that famous commenter on Twitter said? That you can be skin like Black, but not politically Black. And it's like, what does that mean?
God.
You're just you're basically saying they're not Black, but they are. Like,
but if I said, Kerry, you might have white skin, but you're not politically white, that would be an accusation of white supremacy. A white
doesn't even make any sense.
It?
But the thing, yeah, none of it makes any sense. Okay, so now this woman, correct me if I'm wrong. So somebody though criticized her. There's this one screenshot I have here, and in the criticism of what was happening, the fraud and stuff, was like, guys, this doesn't have anything to do with race. This just has to do with a knitting person who is.
What we don't know is what she actually wrote.
Okay.
So but I can imagine it was completely, innocent, because she would have been very careful not to refer to anything, to do with skin color or race or anything. Well, basically, another knitting person, an influencer, she made a statement about Lady Di that we don't really know what it was. So we're assuming that she criticized, the bad practice. But she would have been trying to get that message out there so people are aware of what Lady Di has done. Because this is what nobody seems to be taking it on who's big. No big names are mentioning what she's done at all. But yeah, she did a paper cup apology over it.
So here's her apology, and this apology, for, again, all we know is that in talking about this knitting designer, she said something like, this doesn't have anything to do with race. So the apology is so ... Yesterday, I posted a story which said, in essence, it's not about race. I'm sorry. I should have known better, and I do know better. I do know that saying that as a white woman is entitled and privileged. This is not something I can dictate about any situation. Do you hear what's being said there? Which is, because I'm white, I can't have an opinion or say that this isn't about race. Okay. This is not something I can dictate about any situation, and it's all about my own internalized white guilt and privilege. I am sorry for my hurtful, offensive, and inappropriate words. I'm sorry for my hurtful, offensive, and inappropriate actions. I have removed the post from my stories and highlights and will reflect on how I will ensure I don't make this mistake again. I also want to thank my friend for gently collecting me up and for his patience in talking me through my initial defensive reaction. Hashtag internalized white supremacy. For saying this isn't about race. This is just about someone that could be any race, but this is about someone who's
Stealing. Yeah.
and it's race. And they're like, oh, but it's always about,
Yeah.
that's
What the issue is that what I get the impression of, and if we go back to policing as well, so when it was defund the police, I get the impression that the people who are at the forefront of this, so the BLM types, they just have a problem that white people call them out on bad behavior. So, when George Floyd happened, when people were talking about his criminal background, how dare you as a white person criticize our saint, kind of thing, you know what I mean? So they don't want white police policing them. This is the issue. And it's the same with this. They don't want white knitting influencers daring to question what any black woman could possibly be doing. And like the lady Di said, I'm not talking about all black, but I always have to say this. I'm talking about the small core people at the the heart of this. It's a bit like when with the Slap, I've forgotten the names of the characters the Slap, the two black guys.
Oh, you mean the Will Smith and Chris Rock slap?
When that happened,
yeah.
black knitters and their white allies did a big thing saying, white people, it's your time to be quiet now. You don't have an opinion on this, it's like, no, because you don't want white people to police.
Okay, but let me just jump in here and break this down for anyone who's new to this channel, and especially if you're in this woke cult, and especially if you're a white lady in this woke cult. I'm in a bunch of these social justice groups, not the knitting ones, but I've been in some social justice groups on Facebook, and they never follow their social justice rules. And a great example is this right here. They will say when they bring new white, it's a lot of middle upper class white women who get sucked into this stuff, and they'll come into the group and they learn these rules, and one of it is like, white people, you need to sit down and shut up, and you need to listen to voices of color. And they learn that, and then some of these newbie white woke women, I've seen this, I've talked about this before, they'll post and they'll come across a black conservative for the first time, like, and they'll post it and they'll say like,
Candace Owens.
Yeah, and they'll ask in good faith, they'll say, I don't know what to make of this, like Candace Owens or Thomas Sowell or Larry Elder, whatever. I don't know what to make of this video clip, and she doesn't agree with us, but she's black, and I know that as a white person, I need to listen to her, sit down and listen to her, and shut up. And then all of the people who are in this group, in every social justice group, there's like the high priest and priestess of the movements, the ones that everybody listens to, like the shamans. So the high priestess of the group comes in and is like, not that black person. And they basically, and it doesn't, every single black conservative voice, they say, yes, white people, sit down and shut up and listen to black voices, but not that black person, and not that black person, and not that black, and not that. And
they're racist towards those people because they actually call them the C word that is the name for an Australian cheese. so you might have to look that one up, but there's an Australian cheese that I think they had to change the name of because it had a very strange.
I don't know that, but I've seen them call them the house N word and call them all kinds of like
C
racist
space N is the word.
Oh, that word. I didn't know it was a cheese.
That's what they call them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They'll call them all kinds. The most racist. Follow Clifton, my friend Clifton Duncan on Twitter. I don't know if you've ever seen us do a video together. He's not even, again, I don't even think he would say he's conservative. He's just not a leftist. He's not woke. And the kind of hate mail he gets, the kind of hate mail that any black person gets does not speak the woke line. All the racism that's in that woke shit comes out. Because now these white people feel emboldened, like they can say it because you're not speaking woke, and they call you all those names like that C word. And
in Manchester here, we have every year there's the gay pride thing going on, and it's huge in Manchester. And last time there was gay pride, there was a guy with an LGB Alliance hat, I think it was. Now, the LGB Alliance are gay, lesbian, and bisexual people that don't want to be associated with trans issues because they say it's completely different. It's, they've got no
Right.
problem with
I know
trans
this
people.
group.
But they don't want to be, they don't want to be fighting for the same things because they say it muddies the water, blah, blah, blah. Now, this poor guy with his LGB Alliance, he went to his city to the Pride March in his city, and the people there turned on him. And basically, he was literally hounded out of, because it's a very strange area where it is. It's called the Gay Village in Manchester, and when Pride happens, they completely cordon it off. So it's like a block, what you'd call a block of buildings, and it's all gay related in there.
Who lives there? The village people?
You're going to be in trouble.
It's the gay village.
Yeah, it's called the Gay Village, and people do live there. That's the funny thing. People do live there, and yeah, so they are YMCA's. Yeah, and the poor guy was hounded out, and he, his name and face were like kind of, now he's Hitler. He's just a young guy in Manchester.
They do that. They go after any gay person. Same thing. Who doesn't speak woke. That's why all of that. Their ideology is bullshit. They don't actually even believe the things they say. They don't. They say, if you're white, sit down and shut up and listen to black voices, unless it's these black voices. But they also, the reverse of that is true too. If you're a white person who speaks woke, they don't want you to sit down and shut up. They want you to speak woke. Reality, if you look at their behavior, you can see what they really believe, not their words. Their behavior is only people who speak woke are allowed to speak, whether they're black or white or any race. Only people who speak woke are allowed to speak. But we're going to use race and pretend like that's what it's about to shut you up based on what race you are or sexuality. So Mike Harlow, who's gay, we were at Pride, New York City with Billboard Chris and Alex Stein and Dangerous Rhetoric. We were doing some stuff at Pride. Same thing happened. A straight guy comes up to Mike Harlow, who's gay, at Pride, starts screaming at him and telling him how he's homophobic. And like Harlow, we had this on camera. Harlow's like, I'm actually gay. Like, you're straight. What are you? I'm the homophobe. What? Like, it's insane. That's like white woke people will say to black conservative, like call them all manner of things and tell them they're internally racist, and they know what racism is. They're in the woke, right? Like they got it. It just okay. Sorry, I'm rant. Thanks for listening to my rant, but it's bullshit. It's bullshit. That woman replied to you, the lady Di doppelganger. Different Lady Di says, I'm hiding so that they won't come for me. Okay.
I was going to offer for you to come on my channel. If you're hiding, you can't come on then.
I'll take you off the screen then if you're in hiding. And also, I just wanted to show you that Tabitha Murder Knits is in here bragging. She of the fast knitting says 2 days for adult socks in my record.
Prove it, Tabitha. Prove it. We want a real-time video.
Let's see.
How have you got the time in between, your trad wife terrorism activities?
Oh my gosh, right?
Because that was the other thing in that video, really, wasn't it? Trad wife. The trad life is terrorism.
Trad wife is terrorism. Okay. You guys, I could talk to you forever too, but I have to go because I let my license expire and I have to go take a driving test like I'm 16 again. So wish me luck.
You have to have some kind of ID to drive?
I do. I have a temporary one now.
How do black people drive in America?
That's one of the most racist things social justice people say, right? Isn't it? Black people don't know how to get an ID.
I've seen that video where they go up to a black person in some street and they say, can you tell me, is it the DMV, is it called in America? Do you know where there's a DMV? And she goes, yeah, of course, it's over there. And he's like, well, do you have ID? Yeah, of course I've got ID. How do you think I drive?
Yeah. Duh. So great, so condescending. And that's like saying,
bad, isn't it?
Can you imagine if they were to say it about women? How would women vote? They don't know how to get a drive.
They don't know how to write.
They don't know how to write.
How are they
Um,
going to know what their husband wants them to vote if he's not
yeah.
there with them?
My husband's letting me out of the house today just to get the driver's license. I do have to take a male escort with me.
It's got to be a family member, I hope.
Yeah.
You know.
Can't be trusted.
Ugh.
I have had so much fun talking and laughing with you. We only got through some of the knitting war stuff, but it fun and
we need to
crazy.
do like a full day. There's so much
Just
to talk about,
and
isn't there?
not even if the Kathy Griffin stuff hadn't happened, that's all we would have talked about. Bradley Burnett, yes, I got to meet you at F&T. I know who you are. I
Ah,
think
that
you're
was the
my
guy from the
fellow
beginning,
Duper.
wasn't it?
Yes. Thank you for hanging out. And Flagrant Triggers, who I also met at the meetup. Doesn't help I made the meme. Okay, I gotta go make sure I know which meme you're talking about. Don't get me in trouble, Flagrant Triggers. Laura Higgins earlier said, I sew, cook, and bake. I had no idea that made me racist.
And a terrorist. Holy crap, we need to report you. Oh, because
Yeah.
that's the other thing the New Zealand people are doing. They've released a how to spot a terrorist document that probably I think went to every home, and it's how to report your friends and family members
What?
for being terrorists. So if you suddenly have a very strong opinion, so you're a terrorist, I'm a terrorist, probably most of the people in our comments here are terrorists, and if your family thinks that you can't, no longer you can't be convinced of whatever the truth is anymore, then you're a terrorist.
I saw something we have to do this again because I saw something similar that was it was like the warning signs of like your friends or family being pulled into extremism, and it was like they suddenly talk about farming and raising, having a garden, a food garden.
Yes, that's in the New
And
Zealand one.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like they suddenly
Yeah.
want to raise chickens. What? They do a lot of crafting and canning of,
Yeah, they're growing tomatoes.
Basically, it's all the warning signs that they're trying to get out from under government control and be able to live a sustainable life, like terrorist, right? Like, oh my gosh, they can beets. My
Yeah.
grandma
Well,
can.
it's going to be, they're white and they have a white partner. That's going to be it
Yeah.
soon.
They have a white partner. Oh no. Okay, last one because this was funny. Surly Unicorn said earlier, a quilt of oppression. You guys,
Someone's got to design that. Someone's got to come up with that.
oh my gosh. Put a chicken on it. Okay, Pirate Tomsky. This
Thank
is
you.
where he put all the links where people can find you, Neil, Blacked Magazine.
Yep.
And on Instagram. If you want to follow along with the knitting words, I highly recommend Neil's Instagram feed. And
Yeah,
on
because it's
Twitter.
not just knitting. It isn't just knitting. There's all sorts of stuff on there.
Yeah. Thank you very much, dude. I hope you have a happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I might see you tomorrow. I might not. It all depends.
Yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to be in Politically Incorrect Knitters. You may or may not be there. And then tomorrow night, just a reminder, I'll be on Comics Division's election stream if you guys want to hang out.
Wow, you're going to be busy. Are you
Busy
going to have
election.
matchsticks in your eyes to keep awake? Are you
Yeah.
going to stay up all night?
Probably not. No, I don't think I can do that.
Oh, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Why is it in the past you were able to count all the ballots, in one day or one night, whereas now it can take weeks?
Why is that indeed?
Yes. And why do you have ballot drop boxes? I have never heard anything as ridiculous in my life.
I don't know, Neil. We can't talk about this. Let's go. Bye, guys.
Yeah, gonna hear a knock on the door, aren't we? Now? We're the government. We're here.
Oh no! I started the ad too soon. We're the government. We're here to help. Is that what you're saying? You've been having what's the Facebook meme? You've been having a bit too much to think. Yeah. Okay, bye for real, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you to today's sponsor, the Church on the Square of Georgetown, Texas, which happens to be my church. My church is no longer allowed to advertise on Facebook, which is unfortunate because that's how I and a lot of other church members originally found them. They've been told that they violate community standards. There's no details there of what that means, but you guys know the score. Anyway, since they're not allowed to advertise, I'm here to give them a plug. You can find them online at thechurchonthesquare.org. You can also find videos of all the sermons and some other kinds of content on their YouTube page at Church on the Square.
you can also join us. If you happen to be in the Georgetown, Texas area, we meet every Sunday at Ken's Guitars, that's Kenz, Ken's Guitars, right on the Georgetown Square. We meet outside right on the square. Sometimes if the weather's nice, you might find us there. You might find us outside in front of Ken's. But if you're local, I hope to see you. Thank you.